The always silent grandfather Li slyly observed Yi Futu for a long while before he finally spoke. This old man wants to give the Azure Dragon territory a lesson. Such an arrogant tone, to unexpectedly want to give the Azure Dragon territory a lesson. Yi Futu's heart trembled, but he indifferently said, "Does Taisui wish for Futu to do such a thing? I want you to go find that cultivator from the Most High Path and bring him a message." Grandfather Li smiled wholeheartedly. What message? Yi Futu could already guess what it was. The purple thunder monster's head. Yi Futu could no longer pretend to be calm. "Taisui, could it be that you want to go kill the purple thunder monster?" Even if this grandfatherly villain was peerless, he could not possibly be the purple thunder monster's opponent. Wu Song, Lin Chong, none of them were weak. A lesson to the Azure Dragon territory was already sufficiently obvious, but how is this related to teaching the Azure Dragon territory a lesson? Grandfather Li smiled but remained silent. Han Bing then said, "The Crystal Dragon Palace's treasure banquet has an enormous opportunity before us for the star duels. No one has ever seen it in a million years. Could it be that you have not seen it either, Yi Futu? If no one has seen it in a million years, how the hell am I supposed to have seen it?" Yi Futu was bewildered. He muttered, "The treasure banquet is the gathering of the absolute majority of the Azure Dragon territories, maybe even the 3 territories, cultivator sets, but what relation does this have with the star duels?" Futu does not understand. Suddenly, Yi Futu recalled something. Could it be that Taisui truly wants to release that prehistoric Emperor Liao to terrorize the Azure Dragon? Shi Jiuing showed a slight sneer. "Are you concerned about the Azure Dragon territory?" "No. However powerful the prehistoric Liao Emperor is, Taisui must think carefully if he was to enter the world, and we have no guarantee for ourselves," Yi Futu gravely said. "Yi Futu, do you know what comes after the 7 Stars Assembly?" Grandfather Li asked. "Selection of the Overlord." Yi Futu did not understand why he would suddenly ask this. Grandfather Li nodded and then said, "Then you must know in your heart that even if we White Tiger 7 spirit stars ascended Maiden Mountain, there will inevitably internal strife at the end. Only one person can live, which is to say, let alone that you are reverent towards this old man for now, when that time comes, would you kill without so much as saying a word?" Yi Futu did not retort. This logic was clear to everyone, and a retort would actually appear hypocritical. But Yi Futu still was not clear on what intentions this old man had by saying this so frankly. If it was a warning to him, Yi Futu did not believe he would be so bored with it. "So we must release the prehistoric Liao Emperor." Han Bing was serious. Yi Futu was even more confused. "Could you explain a bit more clearly?" Futu honestly does not understand how the 7 Stars Assembly and the Liao Emperor have anything to do with one another. The Liao Emperor, in fact, fell from Maiden Mountain. You should know that their cultivations already surpass transforming Star of Annihilation. If it can release them, too, then we can rely on them to break Maiden Mountain's barrier and assault Maiden Mountain together. By doing so, not only us, even the other Star Masters of the Azure Dragon territory, Vermilion Bird territory, and the Black Turtle territory are merely so. Grandfather Li slightly smiled, and Yi Futu only felt his whole body tremble. He had heard an unbelievable thing. The Liao Emperor came down from Maiden Mountain. In these star duels, we will not only become the Overlord, we will also attack Maiden Mountain and show those people our power. Grandfather Li showed a cold and fanatical smile. The old man glanced at the woman Zijin beside him. His expression recovered its softness. This is something this old man and Zijin decided. Zijin grunted, a tacit confirmation. Yi Futu was greatly astonished. He had never thought that the White Tiger territory's 7 spirit star would be unexpectedly have this secret. No wonder that Xian would sign a contract with this old monster. It turned out she wanted to overthrow Maiden Mountain. This was too ludicrous. Even the Yi Futu who had seen gales and billows felt that the events unfolding before his eyes were somewhat outside his common sense. Attack Maiden Mountain, could this Liao Emperor truly do such a thing? Yi Futu asked in shock. This old man is certain. But why take action against the other Star Masters? If we work together, humans are ridiculous. Star Masters are loyal to no one. Rather than making those sects join in, it is better to seize the opportunity to make them starfall. To be honest with you, this time, the Azure Dragon territory will inevitably be destroyed, here and now. We are already prepared to collaborate with the Black Turtle Territory's Devil Palace and the Vermilion Bird Territory's Demikin to subjugate the Azure Dragon territory. The greatest bloodbath since the beginning of Liangshan continent's history will be on the treasure banquet's final day. Yi Futu, you must not stand on the wrong side of things. Shi Jiaoying laughed wildly, his mood very refreshed. Zhang Feng said, Brother Futu, just relax. This time, we will only act against those 10 great sects and star masters gathered in the Dragon Palace. After all, the great Liang dynasty is already arrogant, different from the past, but does Brother Futu not want to take this opportunity to slay the Purple Thunder monster? Yi Futu only then understood Grandfather Li's plan, use the climactic festival of the Crystal Dragon Palace treasure banquet to massacre all in one fell swoop. This was a bold style, but this signified becoming enemies with all of the Azure Dragon territory's cultivators at the same time. Was this old man so confident in that prehistoric Liao Emperor? But Star Masters with the outlaw Jade Pendant would flee, would they not? Even if afterwards the Liao Emperor meddled in the star duels, that Chao Gai would definitely handle her. 3. Yi Futu said. Therefore, this time, we want you to go see the ancestral master of the Most High Path. According to what we know, the Crystal Dragon Palace's Imperial Empress Long Wanxin has already lent out 12 of the connecting heaven-ocean settling pearls to him. This is a golden opportunity. This time, no Star Master will be able to escape. They will die, without doubt, and that Purple Thunder monster naturally will, too. Han Bing indifferently explained. A servant like yourself would not want to wait until that Purple Thunder monster actually obtains the 3 heavenly books, correct? When that time comes, what chance of victory would we have? Xiang Qinqing also spoke up. Yi Futu forced down the shock in his heart. He looked at this group of metamorphosed demons in shock, particularly the old man sitting in the center. At this time, no matter how sluggish he was, he ought to be able to deduce these demons' plan. What a terrifying scheme. To turn the tables and exploit the 4 territories' banquet in a way that justified collaborating destruction with the other 2 territories, and to also use the Crystal Dragon Palace's connecting heaven-ocean settling pearls to block off the escape routes of all cultivators, this strategy could be said to be cruel. But old Daoist Northern Darkness has no way to control the Crystal Dragon Palace's heaven-connecting ocean settling pearls. Yi Futu took a deep breath, asking again. It appeared his questions were too numerous. Grandfather Li impatiently wrinkled his brow and then closed his eyes. Zhang Feng smiled and said, So this time, Grandfather has made your servant accompany Brother Yi to go see old Daoist Northern Darkness to bring that message to him. Understood. Yi Futu nodded. Yi Futu and Zhang Feng departed. Xiang Qinqing's tone was upset as he said, Is that man trustworthy? Precisely, Grandfather. Why should we want this human man to join the 7 spirit stars? He ruins our plans. Shi Jiaoying felt one human in their camp was honestly a very big change. Han Bing smiled, Everyone, be at ease. Grandfather in his grace and power does not fear this Yi Futu will not stand with us. Since explaining the Liao Emperor's might and promising that there would be no need for mutual slaughter upon ascending Maiden Mountain, even an idiot would know what to do. After all, Star Masters were people who would break away from Liangshan continent in the future. What should a destroyed Azure Dragon territory have anything to do with him? Sweeping the snow from the doorstep is human nature. Even Yi Futu is like this. Han Bing was certain. But if he actually renounced this? How do we break the seal without the absolute destruction array? Shi Jiaoying coldly asked. Grandfather naturally has a contingency. If this Yi Futu continues to persist in the wrong way, we will kill him. If he dies, then would the absolute destruction array not be? If Yi Futu dies, then your servant shall take his place. An unruly laugh suddenly echoed in the room. Shi Jiaoying was startled. A man of slight build strode into the room, cupping his fist in a salute to everyone present. I, 5, will absolutely not disappoint grandfather. Saying this, space contorted, and a young girl appeared. She had long, pink hair, a servant girl's attire, an adorable face, and a pair of adorable purple eyes anyone would let their guard down around. Star General. Whatever senior grandfather Li orders, your servant Miss Chili, 6, and Qianro, 7, will definitely listen and obey. Miss Chili respectfully said. 8. Futu, we, Hao Bingxin in his mind was somewhat anxious. After hearing grandfather Li's plan, the girl felt lost. Yi Futu was stupefied, as if he was wearing a mask. His heart was contemplating just whether or not to help these demons complete the absolute destruction array and release the Liao Emperor, but seeing that grandfather Li had more or less leaked the inside story to him and left him unsure. Since their counterpart was so frank, this showed that he was not afraid of betrayal, or perhaps this was a bluff. Yi Futu could not get a grasp of him and inwardly cursed this wily old fox. Brother Futu, what are you thinking of? Zhang Feng's warm voice interrupted Yi Futu's thoughts. Yi Futu was startled. He laughed, your servant merely feels that grandfather's plan is a bit too bold. That Liao Emperor has been trapped in the along the river during Qingming for 1,000 years. Perhaps he has long already been refined away. Brother Yi thinks too much. Even if he was, to be able to obtain the aid of the Most High Path is a good thing, is it not? We are also collaborating with the Black Turtle and Vermilion Bird. At that time, no matter how powerful the Purple Thunder monster is, he would be helpless. Exactly, the Purple Thunder monster variable in these star duels has always been too unreasonable. Yi Futu agreed. Zhang Feng looked at Yi Futu and knew he was still hesitant. The man vaguely said, the 9th star duels were bound to have variables. The Purple Thunder monster is one, grandfather is one as well. Otherwise, a star general as exceptional as Zijin would never follow grandfather. But is overthrowing Maiden Mountain not too overconfident? Yi Futu nearly wanted to say arrogant. Once the Liao Emperor breaks Maiden Mountain's barrier, we will inevitably end the star duels. At that time, we will force our way in together. Whether or not we were overconfident will be seen when the moment comes. Could it be that your star general Bingxin does not want to change these star duels? Your servant feels that Brother Yi is a very close kindred spirit. It is hard to find a brother like yourself. Zhang Feng's words were very enticing and seemingly pointed. Yi Futu had to admit his eloquence was astounding. Just as Shi Jiaoying said, this Zhang Feng was unlike a demon, he was more human than a human. Your servant as well, N. Futu understands, but the Most High Path boasts itself as an upright sect, a cultivator of outstanding righteousness. Will old Taoist Northern Darkness actually agree to ally with us? Yi Futu felt his own doubt and was a bit uncertain. At the banquet, Northern Darkness showed indifference towards the Liao Emperor. If they actually used the Purple Thunder monster's head as enticement, Northern Darkness has fish perhaps would be eager to take revenge. There was a very good chance he would agree. If he actually agrees, what more does this Yi have to consider? Yi Futu found an excuse to clear his conscience. Since the number 1 ancestral master of the number 1 great sect Clear Void Most High Path was able to take the risk, what did he, Yi Futu, have to consider? Thinking of this, Yi Futu suddenly relaxed. Yi Futu, did your esteemed father not attend the treasure banquet today? Northern Darkness has fish currently sat on a prayer mat, reading a section of the 3 Clarities scroll. Beside him was a green lamp, extremely relaxed. His vast chi struck Yi Futu in the face, and Yi Futu was very skeptical that Northern Darkness has fish would actually reply. Senior is aware of everything. The great Liang's 3 great martial kings have already not attended the cultivator's banquet for a long time. Yi Futu deferentially said. Ever since Emperor Liang ushered the imperial family's golden age, he has nevertheless secretly restricted the nobility. Could it be he still fears he will be unable to quash a rebellion against him and the secure 3 great princes? Northern darkness has fish smiled. Yi Futu was startled. He sensed that this old Taoist was discontent with Emperor Liang's speech, and he suddenly felt that even if there was no purple thunder monster, that Grandfather Li would probably use Emperor Liang as bait. This is... Northern darkness has fish put down the scroll, staring at Tsang Feng. Your servant is Tsang Feng. Tsang Feng smiled. In actuality, the reason your servant came today is because there is something your servant would like to bring up with Senior. Yi Futu said. What matter? Yi Futu hesitated a moment. This was a matter that was still a bit difficult to speak of. Tsang Feng directly opened negotiations. To be quite honest, does Senior Northern Darkness not wish to kill the Purple Thunder monster? Northern Darkness has Fish's gaze concentrated, and an imposing pressure clamped down. Even Tsang Feng felt his body turn heavy. Your servant is a star master who, like Senior, wishes to kill this scourge known as the Purple Thunder monster. Xiang Nongmei brought out her star weapon and glared at Northern Darkness as Fish, completely fearless of him. So this is the case. Northern Darkness has Fish's expression dramatically improved. The Purple Thunder monster has broken the rules of the star duels, yet Maiden Mountain sits idly by and watches. This is indeed very unfair to the other star masters. Exactly, so your servant wishes to take advantage of the last opportunity before the 3 heavenly books. Unite the other territories, star masters, to kill the Purple Thunder monster right here. Tsang Feng smiled. And you would have this Taoist aid you? No, but your servant wants to bestow to Senior an incantation to control the heaven-connecting ocean settling pearls. So long as Senior uses it when the time comes, the 24 heaven-connecting ocean settling pearls will definitely trap the Purple Thunder monster and leave him with no way to run. Northern Darkness has Fish was alarmed. He suddenly shouted. Just who are you? A 3 clarities chi immediately rushed out. Yi Futu's whole body had been continuously trembling up until now. The Most High Path's number 1 ancestral master was fully deserving of his title, for he was extremely powerful. Northern Darkness has Fish fixed his eyes on Tsang Feng and sneered. How could anyone just randomly know about the secret script on the prehistoric spirit treasure heaven-connecting ocean settling pearls? If you do not speak, this old Taoist shall hand you over to Long Wanxin today. Senior, quell your anger. Tsang Feng was calm. This matter is absolutely harmless to Senior. Does Senior not want to take the Purple Thunder monster's head as an offering to the sect? This is an absolutely golden opportunity. Northern Darkness has Fish muttered for a moment. In the end, his aggression completely receded. He waved his hand, and tiredly said, this old man is exhausted. See yourselves out. Tsang Feng slightly smiled. He knew that the number 1 ancestral master of the Most High Path before him had already agreed. Junior bids farewell and wishes Senior peaceful sleep. Han Bing and Xiang Qinqing separated to go find the number 1 star masters of the Vermilion Bird Territory, Lady Snake Scorpion, and the Black Turtle Territory, Holy Lord of Draconic Demon, to discuss their alliance. With the might of the prehistoric Liao Emperor, they believed that neither the Vermilion Bird Territory nor the Black Turtle Territory would refuse something as good as a bloodbath in the Azure Dragon. Furthermore, toppling the Crystal Dragon Palace meant that countless treasures could be theirs. Who would miss out on something this good? Grandfather, Xian Lao's All Things bracelet has reached 3rd place on the spirit ceiling list. Does Grandfather want to test his own prehistoric spirit treasure, to make the Azure Dragon Territory's cultivators broaden their horizons at death's door? Shi Jiaoying said. Oh, the spirit ceiling list? Grandfather Li spotted that tall signboard. This treasure banquet has displayed many new prehistoric spirit treasures. These Azure Dragon Territory cultivators truly have not seen the world. Like us demon kin who refine magic weapons, who would not use prehistoric materials. 2. I heard that ever since the spirit ceiling list opened, that number 1 supreme ultimate diagram has never changed its ranking. Why not Grandfather make them witness our power? Shi Jiaoying's eyes shifted. You just want to see it? Grandfather Li faintly smiled. How could he not know his shallow thinking? Shi Jiuying promptly denied this in a panic. Grandfather Li was like a kindly old man. What harm is there? This old man also wants to know which is superior, the Supreme Ultimate Diagram, or the Good Fortune Prayer Mat. 3. Saying this, Grandfather Li closed his fan and pointed at the spirit sealing list. A ray of light entered. From far away, there was a scream. An unprecedented, blood-curdling scream. Shi Jiuying looked. The number 1 position that had not moved in a million years had already begun to change. The Supreme Ultimate Diagram fell to second, and a new magic weapon entered first, Good Fortune Prayer Mat. Grandfather Li looked at the distant crystal pagoda, his fan pointing at the faraway east. Zijin, if we are still no match when we reach Maiden Mountain, what do we do? Die fighting. Zijin merely replied with 2 words. These 2 words made the old man knowingly smile. What? The Supreme Ultimate Diagram has dropped from number 1 on the spirit sealing list? Wei Xinjie was especially shocked upon learning of this news. Yes, the entire Crystal Dragon Palace has gone crazy. Zhang Yuqi felt the same. This treasure banquet was constantly changing, and the ranking on the spirit sealing list had changed numerous times. Several never before heard of prehistoric spirit treasures had suddenly being born was already exciting enough for everyone. Now, even the number 1 Supreme Ultimate Diagram had already been succeeded, which was honestly inconceivable. Why does Xinjie feel this treasure banquet has danger? Wu Xinjie tightly wrinkled her brow. She suddenly felt somewhat uneasy. The All Things Bracelet and Good Fortune Prayer Mat had entered the top 3. Perhaps this was the doing of those White Tiger Territory Star Masters. Would they flaunt their magic weapons so ostentatiously? The treasure banquet cannot possibly have any danger. Shi Yu disagreed. As everyone knew, the Crystal Dragon Palace had the heaven-connecting ocean settling pearls for protection. Add on that the Azure Dragon Territory's most powerful cultivators were mostly all gathered here, only an idiot would want to cause trouble in the Crystal Dragon Palace. Elder sister must be overthinking things because she heard of the prehistoric Liao Emperor matter. Shi Yu consoled. Perhaps, Wu Xinjie muttered. The treasure banquet has 2 more days until closing. The last Supervoid banquet is supposed to display serious things like the Double 7. We should prepare. Shi Yu said. When Su Xing returns, we will definitely shock him. Shi Yu smiled. 5. While young lord is not here, let us see what we can do. Wu Xinjie smiled. Could something have happened to that Ling Yan princess? Zhang Yuqi worried about this. Little sister Yuqi, just relax. Young lord has an intertwined with her. So long as she does not die, young lord will have a way to resuscitate her. The 1,000-year divine sword intertwined branches, together to hell, is an honest fact. Wu Xinjie smiled. Zhang Yuqi said in astonishment, Su Xing has an intertwined with a star master. Shi Yu, do not be jealous. Wu Xinjie covered her mouth. Shi Yu's face reddened, and she promptly shook her head. Su Xing sat cross-legged on a bed. He was currently cultivating in meditation. A wisp of clear qi lingered around his head, gathering and dispersing. Lin Yingmei and Hun Yangzi stood guard nearby, and Wuyan was monitoring Su Xing. Dong Junqing lay weakly on another bed. Zhao Hanyan sat on her bedside, gazing at Su Xing. Princess Highness, Junqing was selfish. Dong Junqing's voice was very weak. The price of wildly losing her virginity was indeed not light. Even with the efficacious Star Divine Physician and Wuyan and the Great Liang Imperial Palace's myriad secret medicines, she would take at least half a month to recover. Ling Yan Princess Zhao Hanyan looked at her beloved. Hearing Dong Junqing's words, she returned to her senses. She waved her hand, no matter. This princess was responsible this time as well. If it was not for this princess being too arrogant, we would not have fallen like this. To even force Su Xing to drop his cultivation to help me. She sounded frustrated. To be frank, seeing you connect with Su Xing, 6, this princess is actually somewhat happy. Zhao Hanyan stared at Su Xing's expression, full of happiness. Dong Junqing pursed her lips, an expression that said, this general really was a dowry girl. Zhao Hanyan's smile was like a flower. Junqing, if you know Su Xing long enough, you will like him. At least, you will like him in that aspect. 6. The Ling Yan princess said dubiously. Even the Dong Junqing with skin thick as a rampart felt embarrassed enough to die. She had originally wanted to conquer her partner, but she never thought that she would be the one conquered. After a while, Su Xing opened his eyes. Su Xing, what is the situation? Zhao Hanyan stepped forward, asking with deep concern. Having undergone this affair, she was considerably warmer. Dual cultivation has already made my cultivation reach supercluster peak, but Supervoid stage is still very difficult. Su Xing pursed his lips. His body's supercluster star energy bubbled forth, but to form a void to enter Supervoid was nevertheless being inhibited by something, preventing him from ascending. Su Xing had originally relied on the new Watirs to soar into Supervoid in one step from supercluster middle stage. Now that he had fallen to supercluster, he naturally felt at a loss of what to do. Do you want to return to the treasure banquet to find some spirit medicines? Gong Kaiwei was still by the door. She expressionlessly asked a question, gazing at the women inside the room who all were in fact husband and wife with Su Xing. The eyes of the young woman of ice and snow were somewhat rueful. It was precisely because of that sort of thing from back then that made Gong Kaiwei always feel Su Xing was unforgettable. Zhao Hanyan pondered, if Su Xing goes back, the treasure banquet will have already ended. It would be better to seize this chance to break through to Supervoid from dual cultivating to peak state. This princess has the purple smoke confusing sky lantern that Su Xing can borrow. Oh, right. Zhao Hanyan suddenly recalled something. Her finger pointed, and a bottle flew out. These are 1,000-year tears that Queen Mother of West Luan had refined. Su Xing, this is perfect for you to ingest. No need, this is your thing. Su Xing shook his head. There is no need to be modest between us. Lord Husband ascending to Supervoid is the most important. Zhao Hanyan said. And Suan said, right, big brother. Your cultivation dropped to supercluster. A breakthrough will perhaps be very long in coming. Take it. If you do not want it, this bottle of 1,000-year tears, this princess will throw it into the ocean, to avoid seeing you troubled. Zhao Hanyan pursed her thin lips. Her brows feigned anger, appearing serious. Because Su Xing had used the intertwined branches star energy imbuing relationship, Zhao Hanyan's cultivation had not only been maintained, it had actually greatly increased. No wonder she would be so worried. Then I must thank wife Hanyan. Su Xing was no longer modest, so as to avoid feeling somewhat unfamiliar. Zhao Hanyan curled the corner of her lips, a star master marrying another star master. In all the world, only you would dare to do this. When the time comes for the 7 stars assembly, let us see what you will do, we are husband and wife. I actually want to see what that maiden mountain will do about us, Su Xing smirked. I fear that there has been a change in the treasure banquet. At her imperial residence, Song Qingxi abruptly said this. Why would elder sister arrive at this conclusion? Wang Jingji was confused. This was nothing more than information that Dai Xingyue obtained as she wandered all over the land, that some people were secretly meeting with the Devil Star Palace. She could understand how an association was drawn to the treasure banquet having changes. The along the river during the Qingming has been stolen, but Qiongyu does not believe that whatever prehistoric Liao emperor. Jin Qiongyu snorted. Think carefully. Is the treasure banquet a danger or opportunity for star masters? Song Qingxi said. The girls were not like Song Qingxi, who thought things through as finely as an embroidery needle. They all shook their heads. The treasure banquet was famous for having every kind of material, and many star masters and star generals would come to the banquet in search of items to upgrade star weapons, particularly the climactic auction of the treasure banquet at the very end was even more spectacular. As far as Star Master was concerned, how could such an opportunity be dangerous? Since it is an opportunity, it is also dangerous. On the other hand, if someone deliberately took advantage of the gathering of all Star Masters under one roof and laid a trap to handle the Star Masters? Guofeng laughed. Elder sister thinks too much. However, even if someone was collaborating, elder sister forgets that the crystal dragon seems to have some whatever ocean settling pearls for protection. If a battle actually broke out, I hear those will form a space to trap the person in. Guofeng laughed. Song Qingxi's eyes glinted. Correct, this is exactly the point. All of the girls were stupefied. Could elder sister's meaning be that the Crystal Dragon Palace and the Azure Dragon Territory sects are collaborating to face us? More appropriately, this is to face the Purple Thunder monster. Jin Qiongyu sneered. But that Su Xing seems to have already left the imperial residence. Elder sister is truly wasting her kindness. Let alone that elder sister must be aware that even if there is danger, that will not involve us. Elder sister and that Purple Thunder monster have a very good relationship, do you not? Other than the Purple Thunder monster, who else knows elder sister's identity? And how can any of the other Star Master be our opponents? Song Qingxi generally felt that things were not so simple. It was already very suspicious that the along the river during Qingming would be stolen at such a critical time, and add on the fact the appearance of Star Masters whose origins were unclear, who were also quietly working with the Devil Star Palace, there would perhaps be a change in this treasure banquet. But when Jin Qiongyu and Guofeng said this, Qingxi then felt hesitant. On second thoughts, Emperor Liang and those Azure Dragon Territory top-notch cultivators were still in the Crystal Dragon Palace. No one would dare to turn this tide. The prehistoric Liao Emperor. The items on the last day of the banquet will be the most expensive. The Nine Dragons Palace has already waited very long for this day. Jingluan will not give up. If elder sister is afraid, then you can leave with those sisters from the Spring Breeze Drunken Rain Pavilion. Jin Qiongyu pursed her lips. Ever since she discovered that the Spring Breeze Drunken Rain Pavilion had a good relationship with Su Xing, she did not have a very favorable impression of these sisters. Perhaps Qingxi is being overly cautious. Song Qingxi muttered to herself, her forehead always covered with an unshakable overcast. Mama. Bai Yutong happily spread her arms when she spotted Gu Tong, like a bird throwing itself into the forest. Gu Tong showed a happy smile. The Spring Breeze Drunken Rain Pavilion sisters knowingly smiled. Ever since the Black Turtle Temple, they very rarely saw Gu Tong so happy. Tang Tang, have you been well? Papa is very good to Tang Tang. This is big sister Yuqi. Tang Tang tugged on Zhang Yuqi. So you are Tang Tang's mama, huh? Why aren't you together with Su Xing? Zhang Yuqi asked in astonishment. I have no relation to him. Gu Tong stiffened her face and said. Su Xing is Tang Tang's papa. Zhang Yuqi teased. The pair sat together and chatted. Seeing that the Spring Breeze Drunken Rain Pavilion sisters had a very good relationship with Tang Tang, Zhang Yuqi was puzzled and asked, why don't you sign a contract with young Su? Why should we sign a contract with him? Gu Tong pursed her lips, objecting. Can't you be together with Tang Tang like this? Don't tell me you will stand against Tang Tang at the Seven Stars Assembly. Zhang Yuqi shrugged. Does Su Xing not want to end the star duels? Big sis Qingxi is as well. Li Shuangfei said. That leader star. However, Yuqi is very curious as to how you were able to sign a contract with the leader star. This is unprecedented. The truth was very simple, just like signing a contract except Qingxi used an uprising banner. So long as the counterparty verbally agreed, they could join the uprising. Do you know why this generation's leader star is capable of the uprising? Zhang Yuqi could not think this through. I seem to have heard elder sister Qingxi mention that it is because she defeated killer star Longkue. Afterwards, she had the uprising banner. Li Shuangfei muttered. No way. The incompetent Song Jiang was able to defeat the true fiend star. Zhang Yuqi did not dare believe this. What is so impossible about this? Qingxi was a dragon birth's 9 sons' magic weapon. When the time comes, even Lin Chong would find it very difficult to defeat her. Gu Tong disapproved. Zhang Yuqi still did not understand what Song Qingxi defeating Li Kuei had anything to do with the uprising. Zhang Yuqi wanted to understand more, but owing to their opposing standpoints, the Spring Breeze Drunken Rain Pavilion did not say anything more. Then, after they chatted for a long while, Tang Tang gave them her newly brewed wine and bade farewell. Tang Tang, your mama is very happy, yes, very proud. Ha, ha. Zhang Yuqi hugged Bai Yutang along the way back, smiling. Bai Yutang lay against Zhang Yuqi's chest. She sniffled, and Bai Bai, too, jumped onto the little Loli's face to lick the corner of her eyes. 3. Will we become enemies with Mama? Bai Yutang weakly asked. Your papa isn't this sort of person. Even if we really became enemies, he would definitely try everything to bring her over here. Who let her be your mama? Zhang Yuqi giggled. Only then did Bai Yutang turn her tears into laughter. Treasure Banquet, the Crystal Banquet's final day came at the climax. 7 consecutive days of the Treasure Banquet entered the coda, and at the same time, the last auction officially began. This auction had long been speculated fervently by people. The Crystal Dragon Palace pushed today's items onto the stage, and already very early in the morning, countless cultivators had gathered. This Crystal Dragon Palace could be said to be wave after wave. The spirit ceiling list constantly changed, a feast for everyone's eyes, and it made everyone's glitter in even greater anticipation of what magic weapons the Crystal Dragon Palace would auction. The Crystal Palace was a hall of splendid blue waves. To be able to enter signified one's experience and cultivation were illustrious. Average cultivators did not have these qualifications, however, for the sake of promoting the atmosphere, the Crystal Palace would open the Crystal Wall today, allowing other cultivators to spectate the events of the auction. This was considered a small trick to draw in attention. What separated the girls from the other cultivators was that owing to Su Xing's patronage with the 10,000-year evil-suppressing gem bamboo, after Shi Yu and the others walked through a corridor for special guests, they directly arrived at a private booth. This booth was similar to a small building, and its hall was separated into many walkways. Other than the lowest level of seats, along the walls of the hall were many balcony-like booths. A person could sit inside and be able to see the entire venue. The Crystal Palace's decorations were gorgeous, but without losing their gracefulness. Upon walking into the hall, it was like reaching an art museum. It was filled with a pleasing atmosphere. Sister Xinjie, the people sitting inside the booths are all very exceptional. Shi Yuan gazed at those rows of small structures. The 10 great sects, the 4 great families, and the great Liang imperial family as well as popularly known scatter cultivators and powerful cultivators from each territory were present. Each box booth leaked Supervoid dignity, making people feel stifled from just a glance. For this, Su Xing was not present. He gave full authority to the Knowledge Star and Shiyu. This Crystal Dragon Palace's design is actually not too bad. Wu Xinjie looked down on the crowd of people. Although those people were certainly very rich, comparing in this aspect could distinguish them at a glance. Wu Xinjie noticed that her luck was not bad. If it was not for Su Xing's patronage, they would perhaps be squeezed together with those people. It's a pity sisters Wan Yue and Xiao didn't come. Shi Yuan was depressed. Su Xing is not here, and what interest would they have in something like an auction? Wu Xinjie smiled. Originally, Loner Star Generals did not have much interest in highlight events. At this moment, the 9 Dragons Palace's Shi Jingluan caught sight of Wu Xinjie. She raised a cup of wine to express her curiosity, and Wu Xinjie slightly smiled. Shiyu suddenly felt a chilling gaze stare at her. This gaze came from a cold booth. That was the Devil Star Palace's Holy Lord of Draconic Demon, and from that cold and gloomy stare, Shiyu could sense her counterpart's anger, shock, and also a sort of indescribable pity. Shiyu, your cultivation has now surpassed the Holy Lord of Draconic Demons. There is no need to pay attention to him. Zhang Feiyu disdainfully said. Shiyu nodded. The noisy hall abruptly fell silent after a brief moment. The girls that had been chatting were a bit curious about this sudden change. Shi Yuan blinked and asked, "What happened?" "Oh, Emperor Liang has come." As the Azure Dragon Territory's #1 cultivator, Emperor Liang's appearance on stage always would attract the gazes of everyone. The Emperor Liang, wearing a 5-clawed golden dragon robe, leisurely took a seat. When Emperor Liang emerged this time alone, he wore the august majesty of the imperial family. That was a kind that subjugated all under heaven. This was a temperament that a cultivator was unable to achieve through training. His face, that was as grave and stern as a sculpture, was very warm. Under his sternness, there appeared to be someone full of love. His deep eyes were mysterious yet keen. Not only Wu Xinjie and the other girls, but other people sitting in booths showed him deep veneration. The Azure Dragon Territory's Emperor Liang immediately stole away all of the gorgeous Crystal Hall's glory the moment he appeared. However, there were still many regretful and doubtful voices. "That is strange, why do I not see the Ling Yan princess? And, to not be able to see the Ling Yan princess with my own eyes is truly a pity. This auction has lost much of its delight." Emperor Liang was unmoved. He looked around, and his divine intent unfolded, probably scanning for uninvited guests. Then, when he faced Wu Xinjie, his sharp expression slightly warmed. Emperor Liang nodded. He was probably telling her about Su Xing's matters. Following the dimming of all lanterns, on the auction platform, the steady Long Wanxin personally assumed the role of auctioneer this time. This imperial empress of the Crystal Palace and the Azure Dragon Territory's #1 cultivator acting as auctioneers brought everyone a vain satisfaction. It is the great honor of the Crystal Palace to once again welcome everyone's attendance. Over the course of several thousand years, the Crystal Dragon Palace and the Long clan have always maintained the best banquet in Liangshan continent. Long Wanxin issued a passionate and proud speech. This beautiful woman's voice spoke every word very softly, yet everyone could hear her. That voice was full of a charm that was somewhat captivating. And as she recited her speech, Long Wanxin was also sweeping her gaze of the expressions of all the cultivators present. According to these expressions, Long Wanxin judged which cultivators would perhaps stir trouble in the auction. A long while afterwards, Long Wanxin then started the actual event. She first took out several fragments, which glinted lustrously. The dazzling, profound light immediately shook the entire place. Astonishingly, they were star fragments. Shi Yuan indignantly said it was no wonder that the star fragment harvest these days were few enough to be counted on fingers. As it turned out, they were already handed over to these imperial empress. These star fragments were useful for star weapon ascension. The star masters of each of the great sects fell over each other in their eagerness to bid. The price of these star fragments opened at 20 billion. Then, stupefied bidding commenced. "Elder sister, let's not bid." Shi Yuan stopped her. "Shiyu did not understand. You will not be able to steal it. A star master's things, it will be very difficult for you to get close." How could Wu Xinjie not see what she was planning? This young lady has but very professional ethic. Shi Yuan cried foul. Wu Xinjie shook her head, not minding her. Very quickly, the star fragments were bidding at 50 billion, far above the expectations of everyone. The great sage Falling Sky Rock Demon King hailing from Falling Dragon Mountain has already bid 55 billion. Will anyone bid a bit higher? These are but very rare star fragments. Although their effective usage time is brief, they can settle a decisive victory. Long Wanxin's low tone instigated people. 60 billion. A voice suddenly called out on the third time. Suddenly, this high price attracted the eyes of everyone. 60 billion. These star fragments were about to exceed 100 billion. Everyone saw this came from the Devil Star Palace's position. The Holy Lord of Draconic Demon complacently curled the corner of his lips, thoroughly enjoying these shocked gazes. He felt like a star. 60 billion appeared to be a lot, but it was worth it for these star fragments. In exchange was merely some top-notch talismans and medicines. The Devil's Star Palace still had capital. Coming to this treasure banquet, the Holy Lord of Draconic Demon had secured several hundred billion in riches. 60 billion, going once. Long Wanxin slightly smiled. Will Great Sage Falling Sky renounce the star fragments for his wife? The Rock Demon King glanced at the Holy Lord of Draconic Demon. He snorted and shouted, 70 billion. 70 billion. These came from the legendary star world. Could these star fragments only be worth 70 billion? Or are you saying the Devil's Star Palace will use the star fragments as proof of even more glory? Long Wanxin's eloquence was honestly incredible. Wu Xinjie was truly impressed. In just a few sentences, she had ignited the mood, taking advantage of the Holy Lord of Draconic Demon's temper to inflate the price further. 80 billion. As expected, the Holy Lord of Draconic Demon perfunctory announced his bid. The Rock Demon King wrinkled his brow, his heart somewhat unhappy, 90 billion. This time, the Rock Demon King let out an ice-cold bid. Some people could already hear the Great Sage Falling Sky's hidden displeasure. Many apologies, Great Sage of Falling Dragon Mountain. I am thankful your distinguished self is interested in these star fragments, but the Devil's Star Palace also wishes to use these star fragments to solve the mystery of Star World. No matter what, these fragments will belong to the one most determined. Holy Lord of Draconic Demon politely said. Immediately, he indifferently said, 100 billion. Everyone present was shocked. Even Long Wanxin herself could not help but cast an astonished expression at him. 100 billion. Long Wanxin said. Her voice was enough to make every person excited. As expected of something from Star World, 100 billion. Any higher? Everyone cast a glance at the Great Sage of Falling Dragon Mountain. It appeared he was at a pivotal point. The Lady Snake Scorpion beside him whispered something. Then, this Rock Demon King had no choice but to snort to signal his disengagement. Since the Devil's Star Palace wants it, then give it to that old man Dark Nether. My wife is very compassionate. Many thanks. The Holy Lord of Draconic Demon was very pleased with himself. He was confident no one else would bid higher. Just when everyone thought that the star fragments belonged to the Devil's Star Palace, a calm voice suddenly interrupted Long Wanxin's third call. 110 billion. Everyone gasped. All flabbergasted gazes were placed upon booth number 2. That was a very beautiful young woman. She sat upright and still, refined and elegant, slightly smiling. The girl was exceptionally young, but her Supervoid cultivation gave people a big shock. And this bidder was naturally Shiyu. What now, Shiyu? After becoming the Purple Thunder Monster's property, you also have so much money? The Holy Lord of Draconic Demon coldly said, his eyes shooting fire. Lord Husband also has use for these fragments. Since they are already at the highest price, I will naturally need to take action. Shiyu indifferently said. The Holy Lord of Draconic Demon glared at her. What did she mean by taking action at the highest price? Could it be that she thought he waited all this time, not bidding until no one bid? He coldly laughed, already somewhat willing to give up. After all, 100 billion was the bottom line. I hear that the Purple Thunder Monster is exceptionally wealthy. As expected, he is both in name and fact. Very good. The Holy Lord of Draconic Demon had originally wanted to give up, but Shiyu's seemingly insincere sentence raised his fury. Shiyu feels very sorry to have made you waste so many of your bids. How very amusing. Shiyu smiled. Water Illusion Fairy. You are too arrogant. The Holy Lord of Draconic Demon said with disdain, perhaps I should let you see the power of the Black Turtle Territory's Devil's Star Palace, something that the Purple Thunder Monster who popped out from who knows where cannot contend against in saving the beauty. 150 billion. The Holy Lord of Draconic Demon said without any hesitation. Then, he looked provocatively at Shiyu. Shiyu shrugged her shoulders, I shall yield this honor to you. Long Wanxin hung her mouth open. Even an idiot could see at this time that Shiyu had deliberately provoked the Holy Lord of Draconic Demon. The Holy Lord of Draconic Demon's 4 great law protectors were somewhat irritated, and he himself was even more gloomy. The first item star fragments were sold at an astronomical 100 billion and 50. Immediately, the whole place was tongue-tied. At the same time they lamented that the Devil's Star Palace was indeed overbearing and affluent, they also anticipated the next item. The whole place's lighting completely dimmed. Immediately afterwards, Long Wanxin cautiously opened a box. The originally dark auction house was instantly enveloped in a gorgeous rainbow light. The 7-colored light shone onto everyone's shocked faces, and even Emperor Liang could not help but shift. Living in the legendary Star World, surpassing the strength of the mundane world, a powerful permit for travel, this is the Crystal Palace's second item to auction, stone from Star World and the 7 kills ravenous wolf. Long Wanxin's serene words floated in the darkness. Immediately after she finished speaking, the auction house was suddenly illuminated, and that glowing astral stone on the auction platform still emitted an extremely alarming light. 7 kills ravenous wolf. Everyone was shaken. The power of that kind of Star World immemorial demon beast was unfathomable. No one could have expected that the Crystal Palace's second item would be so superb. There was surprisingly an astral stone containing a 7 kills ravenous wolf. It appears we will have to take action for this. Wu Xinjie muttered. At this very moment, outside the hall. At a certain corner, there was a fiery battle on display, silhouettes chaotically flitting about. A young girl was currently engaging Ling Feishue in combat. That young girl was none other than Zhang Yanran. After several bouts, Zhang Yanran's defenses were finally torn open with a hole. Ling Feishue spied her chance, opening fire with her cannon. With an air-shattering sound, an arc of thunder swept towards Zhang Yanran, leaving completely no leeway. Zhang Yanran had no choice but to grip her weapon with both hands and block with all her strength, yet the tough power did not slow in the slightest from this. Her blow was merely deflected slightly. Ling Feishue smiled. Her strength suddenly magnified, and then she attacked. The silent destruction star meteor cannon fired with a muffled boom. It smashed over like iron. Zhang Yanran felt her wrists turn heavy, and her pace began to turn somewhat flustered, not as resolute as before. A whoosh shrieked through the air. Zhang Yanran's smile disappeared, for she caught sight of Ling Feishue firing her cannons directly at her. Zhang Yanran helplessly retreated, pulling away a certain distance. To think you are actually an earthly star. Very amazing. Ling Feishue praised. Immediately after Ling Feishue spoke, the air suddenly rang with a sharp noise. A silvery bullet suddenly appeared at Zhang Yanran's side, as if it had always existed there. The bullet flashed. It stabbed at her like a knife. Such swift speed. Zhang Yanran raised her saber, and a cold light slashed apart space. Icebreaker Snow Slicer. With a bang, the incoming bullet was cut in two. The saber light was fast to the extreme. Her entire figure instantly attacked. At the same time, the straight saber once again advanced. Boom! As if there was a sudden explosion, there was a crisp ring. Ling Feishue once again fired, using her yellow rank, flashing brilliance heaven-shaking thunder. The seemingly exploding shells instantly flew forth, and countless fine fire thunder scattered in all directions like sharp knives. The sound of thunder attacked. Zhang Yanran quickly turned about, her speed extremely quick. Ling Feishue was stunned, for her cannon was already avoided. She caught sight of a Han dress arrive in front of her. At the same time, Ling Feishue spotted a pair of eyes, a pair that contained not a shred of emotion. An ice cold that was like the 9 hells existed in those eyes. Zhang Yanran's eyes were brimmed with a cold intent. Cold air flourished. Hey! Ling Feishue lost her smile and fired again. The corner of Zhang Yanran's lips curled. She suddenly slashed, moving a step closer rapidly. The beauty of this saber light was completely indescribable. In fact, when this saber light flashed, the air even froze solid. That ray of perfect saber light seemed to be the most beautiful thing in the world, captivating everyone instantly. It could even make everyone forget the meaning it represented. Dark technique. Saber drawing, water breaking. Her armor cracked open. Ling Feishua showed a startled expression, for she was in cutting distance. As far as heaven-shaking thunder was concerned, this was a fatal distance. Zheng Yanran showed an ecstatic sneer. Despite her immaturity, her actions were nevertheless decisive. Just at this moment, a chill billowed behind her. Zheng Yanran perceived this immediate flash. The 33 dark sky star frost swords attacked. Courting death. Resonance. Han Bing said coldly. Meanwhile, Ling Feishua fired, using dark technique, thunderclap fire rain. Several hundred bullets became a rain of fire, rays and tongues of flame that pounced towards Zheng Yanran. Under resonance, her power was increased 100-fold. The two had tacit understanding in their teamwork. Zheng Yanran had no place to run, and she was immediately completely struck, groaning in suffering. Go! Han Bing raised the evil cleanup knife and followed up the attack. Zheng Yanran raised her hand and blocked. Immediately, she indignantly grit her teeth. Her forehead's star crest flashed, and she was killed into the star nest. Are you alright? Feishua. Han Bing asked. What a powerful little sister, it was almost over. Ling Feishua stuck out her tongue. And her star master? Escaped. Han Bing said. Han Bing looked at her surroundings. We must hurry and complete the array. There is not much time left. Very well. Wu Xiao and Hua Wanyue roamed the streets of the Crystal Dragon Palace. Because the last, Grand Supervoid banquet auction had opened, the majority of cultivators had all gone to the Crystal Palace. The streets appeared somewhat colder compared to a few days prior. Knowledge star Wu Xinjie says the White Tiger 7 spirit stars stole the along the river during Qingming. Moreover, they will have some plan for the treasure banquet. Wu Xiao, what do you feel? Hua Wanyue glanced at the pilgrim. Ever since that good fortune prayer mat took first place on the spirit sealing list, Wu Xinjie believed that probably was the magic weapon of the White Tiger 7 spirit stars thunder spirit. His ostentatious flaunting perhaps was not with good intentions. In association with his theft of the along the river during Qingming, Wu Xinjie had told them that the White Tiger 7 spirit stars were probably planning to exploit the most opportune time, right place and right mood to stir trouble at the Crystal Dragon Palace. Most opportune, right place, right mood. Wu Xiao muttered. The Crystal Dragon Palace possessed the connecting heaven-ocean settling pearls. This type of legendary magic weapon was capable of turning itself into space. A star master could not flee even with the jade pendant. If there was a star duel here, the end was obvious. This was the so-called most opportune. And because this was the best opportunity for star generals to upgrade star weapons before the 3 heavenly books, the vast majority of star masters would appear. Ordinarily, they would conceal all traces of their star general's sightings, the so-called right place. Finally, at the 3 territories' communion, they each harbored sinister motives. The White Tiger territory's 7 spirit stars were extremely likely to be in league with the Black Turtle and Vermilion Bird to face the most powerful Azure Dragon. 3 territories easily uniting at a banquet was the so-called right mood. This time, place, and mood were all completely simultaneous. If one announced they were uninterested, Wu Xinjie would not believe them. What have we to fear against an alliance of 3 territories? Wu Xiao sneered. She happened to be worried that the trail of the White Tiger territory was somewhat troublesome to track. If they made their move at the banquet, that would save her a lot of time. Hua Wanyue knew that the power of the Azure Dragon territory was outstanding. If a war truly broke out, they would not be at a disadvantage, but the hero star felt considerably intrigued about the Liao Emperor in the along the river during Qingming. She wondered what the White Tiger's 7 spirit stars would do with this transforming star of annihilation-level monster. However, Wu Xinjie needed to participate in the final banquet. For the sake of safety, she still implored Wu Xiao and Hua Wanyue to look around everywhere in the Crystal Dragon Palace to see whether or not they could find the trail of the White Tiger's 7 spirit stars. To be frank, I have a question that I have always wanted to consult with you, Xiao. Hua Wanyue muttered. Please ask. Majestic Star Lin Chong and Harm Star Wu Song have historically had good relationships. In the 8th star duels, they even reached the summit together, creating an unprecedented star general epic. I am very confused. Wu Xiao waved her hand to stop Hua Wanyue's question. It was not clear how many times Wu Xiao had asked herself this question, but she smoothly answered, Your servant knows your intent. It is strange that your servant and Yingmei would serve the same lord husband. Hua Wanyue agreed. Wu Xiao smiled, devastatingly beautiful. The Harm Star showed a sweet smile uncharacteristic of the pilgrim. Hua Wanyue knew that she already had her answer. But Su Xing's history is unclear. He is such a large variable. Do you all not feel this is strange? Wu Xiao stared at Hua Wanyue for a moment. She then suddenly smiled sweetly. Did I misspeak? No, but your servant remembered something from before. Your servant once asked Yingmei about this, but the result was that after Lord Husband and your servant interacted, your servant is nevertheless not afraid to go through fire and water to protect this man. Wu Xiao was absent-minded. She recalled all of those various, vivid, dubious experiences with him, for the first time giving Wu Xiao a sort of feeling that she truly existed. Liangshan Continent all said that Star General and Star Master signed contracts to carry out battle, that Star Generals appeared extraordinarily arrogant. The truth was that they were no more than Maiden Mountain's wandering puppets. Battle, battle, battle. This was the predestiny of Maiden Mountain's 108 Star Maidens. But Wu Xiao could sneer and scoff. Wanyue, in the future, let us aid Lord Husband together. Wu Xiao was most sincere. Hua Wanyue was taken aback. That absolutely beautiful smile made her unable to help but nod. But then she immediately remembered that his man had shot that vile thing onto her face before. To give herself wholly to this man's service was honestly shameful. She coldly said, I will help Su Xing scale Maiden Mountain, but he will have to step over my corpse before that happens. If that day truly comes to pass, Lord Husband will defeat and forcibly sign a contract with you. Wu Xiao downplayed this. Death before dishonor. Hua Wanyue was resolute. Wu Xiao felt even more diffident. Then what about the thoughts of Yingmei and the other sister? This, Hua Wanyue was speechless. Seeing the cunning in Wu Xiao's eyes, she blushed and said, Wu Xiao, you repeatedly address Su Xing as Lord Husband, but you have never signed a contract with him. Is this not very strange? In reality, you are not too faithful in him, are you? Suddenly, a concentrated killing intent emerged from Wu Xiao's eyes. Hua Wanyue immediately felt her body turn cold, and her heart was frightened. She knew that she had misspoke. Your servant will sign a contract with Lord Husband. But the time for that is still yet to come. Wu Xiao retracted her ice-cold murderous aura. She faintly said, Lord Husband has broken the rules. In the future star duels, danger will inevitably lurk around every single corner. Signing a contract now is not beneficial to Lord Husband. So this was the situation. Hua Wanyue pondered. Seeing the renowned, cool and elegant pilgrim so considerate of a man, sure enough, she had fallen deeply into enemy clutches. Just as she thought this, explosions suddenly burst in the Crystal Dragon Palace. Wu Xiao and Hua Wanyue looked at each other. They dashed in that direction without any hesitation, and not long after, they stopped. 100 meters away, atop a pavilion, a young girl stood facing the wind. She wore a relaxed white robe, and her long had parted slightly like kelp in a lake, giving an impression of undeniable tranquility. The girl closed her eyes and lowered her head. Wu Xiao and Hua Wanyue's martial general instincts immediately sensed this girl was an ill omen. Behind the girl, there was a faint golden rainbow rolling about, every sort of talisman script fluttering. Please halt, you too. The young girl meditated. Seeing an anomaly in the crystal palace, Wuxiao coldly said, Little sister, you must be taking the side of the evildoer White Tiger Territory Demonkin? Elder sister, that you obsess with the appearance of the demons, you nevertheless fall just short. Zijin softly said, each word very quiet. Well said, their appearances are not worth a mention. Let us speak with martial force then. Wuxiao grasped Noble Frost Demonic Lotus, and the white and black unicorn tiger rushed forth. Hua Wanyue nodded. She brought out the Heaven-Earth-Sun-Moon bow, her gaze sharp as a hawk's. Zijin did not move. Wuxiao wasted no time. Her figure rose up and shot forth like an arrow, dispersing lotuses along the way. Astonishingly, she used yellow rank, Tenli demonic lotus dragon slaying. Zijin leaned slightly away. An invisible weapon entered her hand and blocked Wuxiao's absolutely quick slash. The girl easily deflected, and the invisible blade swelled with a cold air that brushed past Wuxiao's cheek, drawing a line of blood. Interesting. Wuxiao sneered. The double-ended sword in her hand slashed downwards, unleashing a brilliant light. Zijin immediately blocked, but the sudden force pushed her back several dozen paces. Wu Song. Zijin's tone was slightly attentive. Hey. Wuxiao disdainfully smiled. Her sword swift as the wind, she slashed. Regardless of attack or speed, Wuxiao did not hold back at all. Zijin continuously retreated, seemingly suppressed. That invisible blade in her hand sustained each of Wuxiao's attacks, appearing increasingly heavy. Thunder rolled. Zijin suddenly spun around. Killing intent concentrated onto Wuxiao's neck. Wuxiao swung away and quickly drew near, sweeping her leg towards Zijin's chest. The intense wind from her leg made the girl's skirt flutter. Zijin dodged into the air. Suddenly, she heard a beast's roar. From out of nowhere, a ray of clear light bearing its fangs lunged at Wuxiao. Noble Frost Demonic Lotus attacked. The pair fought several dozen bouts. A sharp arrow brushed past from the side. Hua Wanyue was not idle. Her eyes became increasingly sharp as she drew her bow into a half-moon. Zijin's expression moved. Suddenly, she disappeared from beside Wuxiao. Her speed was extraordinarily fast. She gave up on Wuxiao, turning instead to attack Hua Wanyue. Careful! Wuxiao shouted. Roar! A gloomy blue star beast pounced to hinder Wuxiao's speed. Hua Wanyue's gaze was increasingly clear, as if she could see through 10,000 li. In her eyes, she caught sight of several people currently erecting a peculiar array on top of a roof. 7 rays of different colored lights pulsed in the air, forming mysterious characters. These characters seemed like arrows that flowed steadily onto a scroll. Hua Wanyue felt something was wrong. She was already preparing to first use the 10,000 li god-killing arrow. Just when she was concentrating, killing intent descended upon her. She heard Wuxiao's warning. Hua Wanyue instantly gave up on the 10,000 god-killing arrow. She turned around and fired an arrow at that baleful aura. Break! The air shattered. An arrow stuck its way into Zijin's chest. Zijin's figure vanished. A shadow. Hua Wanyue was astonished. She spotted her counterpart flash, instantly arriving in front of her. She raised her hand, and a whistling saber wind poured into her ears. Hua Wanyue was repelled by this slash. The hero star shouted, the Heaven-Earth-Sun-Moon bow in her hands turning into the red jade star-splitting short spear for the head-on confrontation. The short spear caught Zijin's attack. Hua Wanyue's brow wrinkled. Following her opponent's attack, she stabbed. But Zijin's reactions made Hua Wanyue surprised. The girl was calm and composed, leaning away to dodge. Immediately, the blade's edge gouged her waist. Hua Wanyue retreated several steps, blocking with the short spear and using her yellow technique. Whistle. 2. The spear became a ray of red light and whistled away. Hero star Hua Rong. The girl's shoulder had been pierced, leaking blood. Your servant's true name is Wanyue. Little sister, will you not announce your name? Hua Wanyue felt this opponent was formidable, so she did not dare to be neglectful. Just as she was preparing to use her dark technique blood dance, an odd change suddenly occurred. Zijin's figure suddenly turned dim in Hua Wanyue's eyes, as if a darkness had blurred her. Then, the hero star immediately sensed a powerful danger launch straight at her. Hua Wanyue's pupils shrunk. Zijin was already in front of her. She completely did not see Zijin take any action whatsoever, but it seemed that as if the moment Zijin had raised her hand, her attack was immediately several hundred times faster. That kind of abruptly arriving killing intent was impossible to guard against. Hua Wanyue's chest suddenly chilled. She felt that she had been run through by a kind of sharp weapon, and her body fell onto a roof, like a kite that had broken off its string. She heard her opponent's soft and seemingly mesmerizing voice echo in her ears. Your servant's true name is Zijin. The killing intent that was shaken out overturned the bangs on one side of Zijin's face, revealing the blue birthmark that covered half the girl's cheek. Dark star blue-faced beast Yang Ji. Hua Wanyue gracefully somersaulted in midair. The heavenly hero Red Luan emerged, and she landed upon its back. Hua Wanyue put pressure on her wound that was deep enough to show bone. The corner of her mouth leaked blood, making the originally composed and graceful Hua Wanyue fill with an even more poignant and sad beauty. Dark star. In fact, Wu Xinjie had once mentioned that the White Tiger 7 spirit stars could be considered an anomaly in the 1,000 years of star duels. Each of their contracted star generals were different from the rest, and they could not be underestimated. Actually, there was no need for her warning. For top-notch heavenly stars like Hua Wanyue, they would not have that sort of boring arrogance, but even so, Hua Wanyue still sampled the power of the girl in front of her. When she first saw that the dark star was suppressed by Wu Xiao in direct combat, she had thought nothing of her. Now that she thought about it, this truly was terrifying. It was very clear that her opponent had deliberately acted weak to hide her martial arts, and by the time Zijin got close to her, Hua Wanyue could not have foreseen that her attack would be lightning fast, instantaneous. Good thinking. Hua Wanyue concentrated her star energy, staunching her bleeding. Having been heavily injured by one of Zijin's blows, not only was Hua Wanyue calm, on the contrary, she was impressed. Dark star blue-faced beast Yang Zijin, your innate skill treasure knife is timeless, truly makes me intrigued. Blue-faced beast Yang Zijin was still as tranquil as dead water. Her cast a sidelong glance, nodded and continued her attack. The heavenly hero Red Luang cried and stirred up a scorching, 100 zhang long blaze. The beautiful flames flowed in all directions. Black shadows became a dark chasm that tore apart the flames. Yang Zijin easily cut the flames down, and with a leap, she ruthlessly sliced towards Hua Wanyue's neck. The heavily injured Hua Wanyue could barely hold her short spear. The hero star that was without a contract lost much in terms of star energy, and Yang Zijin's star master could be considered the #1 star master in all of Liangshan continent. His cultivation was unfathomable, and this slash made the heavenly hero Red Luan wail. Just as Hua Wanyue was about to be killed. Suddenly, the surrounding flames parted. A black, elegant figure brought a whistling faint wind. Yang Zijin's expression changed, and she spun around. Weapons made contact. Sparks flew everywhere. But after this sword light was blocked, it suddenly slashed in the form of a crescent, curving from left and right, drawing a curve. It twisted towards Yang Zijin's delicate neck like a lasso. Dark rank technique. Blood splashing Mandarin duck. Yang Zijin's forehead flickered with a blue star crest. Her figure turned dark, and her reactions were extremely quick. She avoided this most fatal strike, but 2 curved sword wounds appeared on her clavicle. Wu Xiao stood tall, her expression cold. Her dark technique just now had been surprisingly blocked. This dark star Yang Zijin's extreme realm was perhaps not on the low end. Seeing Yang Zijin's calm breathing, her body technique steady, completely without any fluster or confusion, showing a bearing only top-notch martial generals had. Never expected dark star blue-faced beast Yang Zijin to surprisingly be so vexing. Wu Xiao snorted. Her white and black unicorn tiger also rushed out of the flames, landing beside her. Hearing its mistress, it first blinked, and then it turned its tiger eyes to stare at Yang Zijin. Xiao, careful of her treasure knife. Hua Wenyue's breathing was ragged. Can you last? Wu Xiao asked. N. Hua Wenyue nodded, but to provide support perhaps was very difficult. The hero star could only use star energy to protect her wound. This kind of healing consumed star energy relatively slowly, but the weakness was that she could not fight for the time being. Wu Xiao grunted, that is fine. Yang Zijin, will you bring great disaster to the Azure Dragon for the sake of those white tiger demonkin? Wu Xiao inquired. Yang Zijin's gaze glinted oddly. Clearly, she did not have any interest to answer. Wu Xiao also felt that she had asked in vain. Star generals descended from Maiden Mountain. They strived for Maiden Mountain. The Azure Dragon territory, or other lands, were merely a temporary post that none of them cared for. Wu Xiao found that after having been with Su Xing for so long, her heart had softened a bit. She smiled. This tenderness actually made her feel very pleasant. This situation of mutual slaughter will finally end. Yang Zijin vaguely said. The response was a noble frost demonic lotus. Black sword light and white sword light blended together, its momentum pressuring her. Concentrated on a single point, she attacked Yang Zijin's forehead. The weapon in Yang Zijin's hand released its concealment, revealing a simple and unadorned long saber. The saber's hilt was carved with fierce beasts, and its blade was like a beast's fang. The edge flowed with a ghostly blue fire. On it were 4 flickering stars. Extreme vast blue emperor saber. 2. Seeing Yang Zijin destined star weapon manifest, she also appeared to be planning on using full power. Blue-faced beast Yang Zijin's extreme vast blue emperor saber rolled forward. Powerful saber chi swirled like an eddy, immediately stirring away the sword threads that were approaching her, but several strands passed through Yang Zijin's defenses that were not fully formed, parring her long robe, drawing a bit of blood. Countless cracks appeared in the luxurious, extravagant palace, tottering on the edge of collapse. And Wu Xiao already seized this chance to slither past Yang Zijin's saber technique. She knew that the girl's innate skill, treasure knife is ageless, was powerful, so she did not dare be careless. She arrived behind Yang Zijin, light as a feather, her breathing vanishing in a split second. Wu Xiao was expressionless. Before her foot touched the ground, her twin swords continued to twist, stabbing towards Yang Zijin's wide-open back. Not good. Wu Xiao's fingers felt cold, and she suddenly felt her chest burn hot. Without even turning her head back to look, Dark Star Yang Zijin had thrust the long saber in her right hand behind her, stabbing fiercely back at Wu Xiao's chest. Her speed was fast, not something that could be described as having eyes in the back of her head. Yellow technique. Tooth extraction. 3. Wu Xiao quickly dodged left. She saw Dark Star Yang Zijin's saber pierce through the cracked palace wall. She pushed, and then the entire palace wall crumbled with a groan. Interesting. Wu Xiao knew that the Dark Star's innate skill was capable of allowing her special techniques to become nearly imperceptible to star generals at the moment of attack, but similarly, she would need to waste a proportional amount of star energy to maintain it. Wu Xiao did not believe that blue-faced beast Yang Zijin could use it too many more times. Each time her high-speed attack missed, that meant Yang Zijin was one step closer to defeat. Yang Ji, impressive. Take this. Wu Xiao shouted, and her double-headed sword pressed the attack. Humph. The speed of Dark Star Yang Zijin's saber technique had a wildly tyrannical determination that could not be practiced. Facing Wuxiao's tiger-like ferocity, her mountain-like pressure, she also faced death with steadfastness, acting calmly. Before the saber drew near, killing intent already pushed against Wuxiao's cheeks. Wuxiao's hands quickly crossed, her double swords defending. Dark Star Yang Zijin's extreme vast blue emperor saber was held in front of her chest, and then it slashed flagrantly. Saber chi gushed out, and 2 trenches were gouged out the earth, splitting open. Wuxiao calmly leapt up, her nimble footwork grazing past the brazen saber light. Her double swords slashed about, like the fangs of a beast. The double-ended sword hacked towards Dark Star Yang Zijin's saber. Upon closing in on Dark Star Yang Zijin's body, she suddenly became quick, sharp as a passing wind, ruthlessly seizing Dark Star Yang Zijin from all sides. Oh! Dark Star Yang Zijin did not retreat. She continually slashed several dozen times with a speed too fast for the naked eye, forcefully dissolving Wuxiao's fierce attack. As expected of Wu Song. She truly was incredible, to use double swords so expertly. The calm Yang Zijin's eyes flashed with fervor. That apathetic, somewhat lonely expression showed the fervor of meeting someone familiar. Although this passion lasted for only an instant, it was enough to make people feel terrified. Their attacks went back and forth. Yang Zijin's saber was still fast as before, and her blinding treasure saber could not be defended against. Although Wuxiao continuously warded off several blows, Yang Zijin was boundless. Her speed instantly shifted, and her saber technique instantly died off. In a split second, Wuxiao's body had cuts. So formidable. Wuxiao's heart was astonished. Her hands fluttered, and 4 rays of the black demonic lotus sword chi shot forth. 2 of the sword chi were very quickly blasted apart by Yang Zijin's saber. Snow-white sword lights scuttled over, and remaining rays quietly closed in from behind Dark Star Yang Zijin. Only then did the sword chi split apart menacingly. No matter who it was, they could not possibly escape unscathed from this earth-shattering attack. Wuxiao's double-ended sword split. In the confusing flurry of attacks, she arrived beside Yang Zijin, her hands bringing a shining cold light. Another dark technique. Blood-splashing Mandarin duck. Dark Star Yang Zijin's expression concentrated, and her figure crouched. All of her body's strength exploded, and she blocked the incoming dark technique with even faster technique, but this time, Wuxiao still won out. Her legs dazzlingly changed, walking a profound pace, circle after circle. Yang Zijin was kicked. She blocked several blows, but she was unable to bear Wuxiao's confusing footwork and was struck several more times. Her aggression promptly vanished. Mandarin duck legs, jade ring steps. Dark technique, heavenly dragon dance. 5. Yang Zijin's pupils contracted, and her wrists burned. On Wuxiao's last kick towards her, she suddenly shouted. At this moment, Crystal Palace. Everyone was still unaware of Wuxiao and Yang Zijin's battle. They were immersed in the deafening auction, which appeared particularly fervent. 6th item, Dark Crystal Blood Coral, 6, 900 billion, deal. Following the shout of a bid, the true Immortal Hall's immortal outside heaven successfully bid for this treasure found 10,000 li under the sea, which made the atmosphere reach a climax. The treasure banquet's 7th item arrived on the platform at this time. When Long Wanxin held it in her hands, the frenzied atmosphere immediately froze, and the hall was rocked by an intake of breath. In everyone's eyes, a ring appeared, a very plain and simple ring. But when the surrounding lanterns dimmed, that ring suddenly became extremely resplendent. That astral stone was just like a bright moon. Bright moon ring. 7. A quaking voice came from a Supervoid cultivator. It was difficult to imagine that a person could make a Supervoid cultivator so tongue-tied, so excited. But no one ridiculed him. On the contrary, they were like him, incomparably shocked. Bright moon ring. That was the ring once worn by the Bright Moon Sage, who peeked into the Bright Moon Longevity Palace and practiced its longevity cultivation method. This type of accessory alone was enough to drive people wild, no need to mention its price. Never expected the treasure banquet to surprisingly have the bright moon ring. The Crystal Dragon Palace is too awesome, how did they obtain it? I heard that when the bright moon sage flew into Star World, he took this ring with him. I never heard that it had fallen down here. The Liangshan continent's most mysterious cultivator, a genius character that no one can equal in cultivation. His lifetime of wisdom was vast as the sea. I think there is no need to introduce the accomplishments of the bright moon sage. Long Wanxin inwardly felt satisfaction at everyone's astonishment. This reaction was within her expectations, and it was precisely this reason that the Crystal Dragon Palace could hold the position it did today. The Longevity Palace has been solved by the Purple Thunder monster. The longevity cultivation method has already disappeared from this world. The cultivators that thus broke through their limits from the Bright Moon Sage's revelations are too many to count. And now, this ring has been presented before us, everyone, your servant naturally need not mention a price. Long Wanxin's voice was calm. As expected of one who had a lifetime of experience, she was indifferent towards this ring. What else could be more valuable than this ring of the Bright Moon Sage? But some people were skeptical. Imperial Empress Long, could it be you actually did not inspect it? Perhaps there is a cultivation method the sage left behind in the Bright Moon ring. If it is an empty ring, then would that not be an enormous disappointment? Everyone's concerns are warranted, but this palace can guarantee that there is still a forbid dance left on the Bright Moon ring, so fellows lacking strength, please reconsider. Long Wanxin slightly smiled. Long Wanxin issued an enticing speech on the platform. She took the time to sweep her gaze over each of the booths. After the Ring of Bright Moon appeared, whether it was the Devil Star Palace or the Great Sage of Falling Dragon Mountain, whether it was the Azure Dragon Territory's #1 sect Most High Path or Emperor Liang, even Long Wanxin's daughter, Long Nu who was in her own corner of the hall, all showed interested expressions at the same time. No way, she's surprisingly auctioning the Bright Moon ring off. Why doesn't she keep it for herself? Sure Yuan could not fathom this. It is not so simple. She must have already seen through the Bright Moon ring, but she is unable to break through the forbid dance for the time being. Wu Xinjie disagreed. Despite Long Wanxin speaking with a clear conscience, the knowledge stars still sensed the forbid dance on the ring had already been probed. However, it appeared that Long Wanxin had not been in possession of the ring for too long, for it was still not completely broken. Do we buy it? Shi Yuan asked. The Bright Moon ring is already useless to Su Xing. Zhang Yuqi disdainfully said. That Bright Moon Sage was no more than someone who had the good fortune to obtain the Longevity Palace's badly damaged longevity cultivation method. Su Xing had already obtained the complete palace, so naturally, he had no real need for this. Wu Xinjie nodded. In fact, they really did not need it. However, the others will fight for this Bright Moon ring intensely. Wu Xinjie thoughtfully smiled, already able to sense that things were on the line for each of the great sects, straining the atmosphere. Everyone knew that the Purple Thunder monster had obtained the Longevity Palace, and it was a pity that no one else would ever know of it in their lifetime. If he had obtained this Bright Moon ring and the longevity cultivation method, he would be a tiger that had grown wings, soaring to heaven in a single bound. What a pity that such intense bidding has nothing to do with us. Truly boring. Shi Yuan pouted. We can actually use this to drive a wedge between all of the sections. Wu Xinjie smiled. Long Wanxin's fanning motions had reached the end. She finally said, rumor has it that the Bright Moon Sage's Bright Moon ring has an astral stone. He has recorded some notes and experience of cultivation into the ring. Someday, if its fated person is able to solve the mystery, they can also reach heaven in a single bound. Now, everyone, what else could be more worthwhile than the longevity cultivation method? Questions, Long Wanxin. How did you obtain this Bright Moon ring? Immortal Outside Heaven asked. This was conferred by a certain fellow. They had found it in the White Tiger Territory's primordial Chaos Sea. Because they were unable to break the forbid dance, they brought it here. Is that so? However, this palace shall make it clear first of all, that the Dragon Palace also wishes to obtain this ring. Long Wanxin's words made everyone surprised. Hey, Imperial Empress Long, you want to buy it as well? Is this not too sloppy? Exactly. The value of the bright moon ring is priceless, as everyone knows. For Wanxin to want this treasure, everyone should be able to understand. Long Wanxin was neither slow nor hurried. There was no mistake. Who would refuse the longevity cultivation method? For the sake of fairness, this palace has adopted a new bidding style. Long Wanxin smiled. We wonder what that is. Long Wanxin gave a signal. Long clan sisters handed her a jade strip like they did with all the other cultivators present. Wu Xinjia also received a white jade strip. Carefully inspecting it, this jade strip had an odd forbid dance array. To break it was not so easily done in a short time. Wu Xinjia understood her plan and laughed in her mind. As expected, this was somewhat interesting. After seeing that everyone obtained one, Long Wanxin spoke again. This auction's item can be said to be unique in all the world, unable to be duplicated. For the sake of avoiding unexpected side issues and to avoid bringing bidders any unnecessary trouble, this time, the Crystal Dragon Palace is prepared to use a jade strip auction. This manner actually made all of the cultivators feel novel. However, if Su Xing was here, he could probably recognize this. This jade strip closed bid auction actually was the secret auctions of modern cities. This closed bid auction was also called a tender. This referred to auctioneers who announced beforehand the details and conditions of the auction's target. Afterwards, buyers would hand over sealed bids to the auctioneer within a certain time period. The auctioneer would publicly announce the start at a predetermined time, and after confirming everyone's bids, she would choose the one with the highest bid. This kind of auction could make everyone make their highest bid. The manner was simple and clear, the results also great. However, the final price the Crystal Dragon Palace would take was from the jade platform. So long as a jade strip was put upon it, it would link with an array and automatically reveal the price. This was also to allow everyone to witness impartially, equitably, publicly. They would have nothing to say. The Bright Moon Ring's minimum bid was 100 trillion, and everyone would start making the highest bid they believed themselves able to make starting from here. Because they could not know the bids of others, a prudent price was crucial. Wu Xinjie did not hesitate to write a 300 trillion gold bid and then hand it over to a maid. Shi Yu was speechless. Wu Xinjie's explanation of this was the Bright Moon Ring was absolutely unobtainable at 300 trillion. The Crystal Dragon Palace's bid was definitely more than 500 trillion. Originally, Wu Xinjie had wanted to write 400 trillion, but she found that they did not have much capital, leaving her with no choice. Immediately afterwards, the other booths and top-notch cultivators turned over their sealed jade strips to the auctioneers. The atmosphere in the Crystal Palace became extremely serious at this time. Even those Supervoid cultivators that stood at the peak of Liangshan continent, their powers reaching into the heavens, became especially cautious, somewhat uneasy as they waited for the results. Long Wanxin took a breath. In front of everyone's faces, she placed the jade strips into that array. From Falling Dragon Mountain, Great Sage Falling Sky bids 200 trillion for the Bright Moon Ring. Long Wanxin slightly smiled, her expression modest. Those cultivators below gasped. The first bid was already several times higher. The Rock Demon King felt pain seeing those envious gazes. Falling Dragon Mountain was not wealthy. These 200 trillion was absolutely going to make this Rock Demon King decline. He could imagine that when he returned to the Vermilion Bird territory, he would be surrounded and attacked by the Holy Mothers of Silver Firmament Mountain and others, but even if he had to throw away Falling Dragon Mountain to obtain the longevity cultivation method, he would not spare anything. Under this half-lose, half-win mentality, the Rock Demon King was very uneasy. However, his expectations did not last long. The next bid made him sigh. Representing the Devil Star Palace, a bid of 300 trillion, Long Wanxin's eyebrows rose. Next, The other cultivators were nearly stupefied. This would be difficult to forget for a lifetime because each and every bid was something they would never be able to obtain in several lifetimes. And the tens of millions they could bid with were simply drops in the ocean. True Immortal Hall bids 250 trillion. Lifeless Hall bids 240 trillion. Purple Firmament Immortal Palace, 180 trillion. Water Illusion Fairy Shiyu's bid, 300 trillion. There was a great clamor. The prices continued to hover around 200 trillion, and for a no sect, no background fairy to surprisingly make a 300 trillion bid made everyone startled. The Crystal Dragon Palace auction always made a superficial appraisal of its participants. Since she made a bid, this demonstrated there was no problem. Everyone subconsciously looked at that booth, but there was only blankness. Most high path bids, 100 trillion. They were still astonished. The most high path's 100 billion pulled them back to reality. As the number one sect, the most high path's bid was the lowest. Clearly, they were giving up. This made everyone feel perplexed, and even Long Wanxin's brows rose. Northern Darkness has fish would not use the longevity cultivation method to make a comeback, but instead renounced it. This honestly was not like him. Long Wanxin knew that although 3 of the great Supervoid ancestors were dead, the Most High Path's capital was substantial. The Great Liang's assets were unlimited, and they could at least bring out 500 trillion. Wu Xinjia's brow wrinkled. She took out her heaven-concealing star fan and shut her eyes. The real surprise came at the end when it was time for the Great Liang dynasty's Emperor Liang to announce his bid. Everyone held their breath, very eager to see how high the bid of the Great Liang's number one person was, but Emperor Liang had given up on this bidding. The Great Liang's number one sect and person giving up one after the other on the Bright Moon Ring did not make any sense. At the end, it was without a doubt that the Crystal Dragon Palace's bid of 500 trillion that made everyone flabbergasted, successfully obtaining this treasure. The Most High Path's booth. The disciples of the Most High Path were confused, looking to Ancestor Northern Darkness in bewilderment. Northern Darkness has fish held a scroll. Under a green candle flame, he read through the scroll, a studious disposition. Despite the Bright Moon Ring, even the treasures and magic weapons from before as well, Northern Darkness has fish showed an unconcerned manner. He mumbled to himself, but no one knew what he was thinking of. The Most High Path's number one ancestral master was aloof, and the other disciples were unable to help but worry helplessly. A long while after, Northern Darkness has fish said, "What is the situation outside?" Reporting to Ancestral Master. The Dragon Palace is currently auctioning the 8th treasure, 9 turns pill. Do you want us to take action? Xie Zhenyuan asked. No need. Northern Darkness has fish apathetically said, has Bing Qingxian still not been found? Junior brother Qingxian still has not been found. Northern Darkness has fish wrinkled his brow. Then he looked to Xie Zhenyuan and said, very well. You bring the remaining disciples now and leave the Crystal Dragon Palace, return to the Most High Path, and seal the mountain. I alone can manage this place. Ancestral Master, hurry and go. Northern Darkness has fish coldly said. Xie Zhenyuan felt this was very odd, but he did not dare disobey. He immediately summoned his comrades, and they quickly left the booth. After they left, the Most High Path's booth was left with only Northern Darkness has fish. The atmosphere appeared particularly cheerless. Northern Darkness has fish closed his book and gazed outside with a cold smile. The time has almost come. Long Wanxin, for now, you can help hold on to that Bright Moon Ring for this old man. Suddenly, Northern Darkness has fish's eyes concentrated and shot out a ray of light, disturbing the air. In another booth, Wu Xinjie gasped. This old Taoist is very powerful. He has surprisingly sensed my wind from empty cave star magic. Elder sister, did you find something? Zhang Yuqi asked. I fear things are not good. That Most High Path is apparently planning something. Little E, you honor, we must quickly go find Xiao. Xiao is in danger. Wu Xinjie said. I shall leave this place to little sisters. Yelü gravely nodded. The Crystal Dragon Palace's 9th item, 777. What are you all doing? The Crystal Dragon Palace's imperial bodyguard saw the commotion and rushed over. When he saw that there were people arranging an odd formation, he immediately shouted, but the words had hardly left his mouth when several flying daggers pierced his chest. Xiang Nanmai chuckled. Seeing that other cultivators were coming to this place to investigate, she pointed her hand. Her concealed weapons flew out, like shadows, and there were immediately several more corpses. There already is not much time left. Han Bing continuously formed hand seals. Her magic energy that represented water and ice poured into the along the river during Qingming. The scroll shifted, and each color of the 7 spirits' chant endlessly clashed upon it. The 7 spirits' absolute destruction array endlessly weakened the seal upon the along the river during Qingming as the other star generals stood on guard. Yi Futu was in the center. He formed a hand seal, and a fire dragon and phoenix flew out. His expression retained a bit of hesitance, but seeing that the along the river during Qingming's seal was increasingly weak, there was not much more he could change. At this time, an anomaly already appeared in the Crystal Dragon Palace. Metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, and thunder currently blew about in the palace. The cultivators that remained were frightened, and some promptly fled the courtyard. Some stayed and rushed for the sight of the anomaly. Then, many cultivators with strong senses of justice would shout several words of righteousness that turned out to be their last words. Zijin is currently engaged in battle with Wu Song. Shall I help her? Hao Bingxin rubbed her hands, very eager to go. Having lost to Wu Song in battle once before, she wanted to take back a bit of face this time, but watching that faraway battle, she learned some martial arts from that battle of top-notch star generals. Elder sister Yang Zijin is truly formidable, more formidable than Wu Song. She has trained in the White Tiger territory and has a star master. It looks like elder sister Xiao is about to lose. What a pity. Yi Futu's expression showed refusal. He did not want to be left without a star general at his side, so Hao Bingxin could only give up. His worries, as expected, were not wrong. Very quickly, this abnormality drew over another absolutely fierce star general. So you are the ones behind this plot? Rolling thunder boomed. The one who spoke was a flashy loli holding a giant mace. Her pair of flame-like eyes burned. Astonishingly, it was Qin Mingyue. The little loli raised her mace, showing an excited expression. Qin Mingyue did not participate in the auction either due to Song Qingxi's concerns. Upon seeing this anomaly, she was drawn over, only to see this scene. Elder sister Qin Ming, you came at just the perfect time. Hao Bingxin's eyes glinted. The 2 little Lolas were like mirror images, each of their figures adorable and tiny, yet each gripped their own incongruously enormous weapons. As if she had found a familiar friend, Hao Bingxin soared to attack Qin Mingyue. In just an instant, the 2 giant divine weapons slammed into one another. Hao Bingxin's pupils suddenly contracted, and her whole body gave rise to a nearly imperceptible shudder. A tyrannical, fully berserk aggression squeezed Hao Bingxin, like Mount Tai pushing down on her. Hao Bingxin did not dare underestimate this loli who was nevertheless a 5 tigers general, the fiery thunderbolt. She promptly called forth her star bast. A great silvery fain wind spontaneously appeared beside her. The sharp whistle was ear-piercing, and the girl's eyes became more translucent than ice and snow in a split second. Yellow technique, fire beacon reaching sky. Bang! Qin Mingyue's giant mace let out flames that covered the sky. This blaze thronged about. A frighteningly loud noise, and a multitude of bloody arrows stormed the sky. Hao Bingxin's body already was like a shooting star, shot far, far away. Her body was already wounded, yet she howled in laughter, not subdued in the slightest as she hopped back up. Then, she became a ray of silver light that forcibly straddled the space of several zhang between them. Her speed was demonic. During the time before Qin Mingyue could react, the broadsword already made close contact with Qin Mingyue's petite body. Terrifying force instantly exploded. Qin Mingyue's mace blocked. Hao Bingxin was startled, for even that weapon that had been strengthened to 4-star was completely unable to bear it. Powerful strength was exerted, and Hao Bingxin's body could not help but be sent flying. Along the way, she collided through palaces and trees, the collapse of which aroused great amounts of dust, the sounds frightening people. Qin Mingyue's strength was surely beyond imagination. Kill! Qin Mingyue roared. Her hostility increased to a berserk level, and the swiftness of her speed was just like a flaming chariot. She unexpectedly grasped the imperceptible moment of weakness Hao Bingxin had when she landed and attacked her. Hao Bingxin's body hung in midair. A gentle white light already appeared from her body, quickly forming a protective barrier. At the same time it helped her ward off this blow, her own weapon was supplemented with healing star energy, straining to recover the wounds she had sustained. Her originally somewhat frail state quickly recovered under the effects of this star beast. Hao Bingxin immediately counterattacked, slicing with her sword. The fire feather thunder beast emerged from thin air. Qin Mingyue sat on this unreasonable and berserk beast, charging forth with no intent to retreat. Hao Bingxin's slash was intercepted by the star beast. Only then did her bad luck begin. Fighting intent surged against Qin Mingyue. Even if Lin Yingmei were here, she perhaps would not have feared this at all. A familiar, ear-piercing whistle once again poured into Hao Bingxin's eardrums. That red-colored delicate figure abruptly appeared above her. A giant mace was already swinging right into her face. Hao Bingxin used her greatsword the next instant to skillfully deflect, but the wolf-toothed fire beacon mace's power was astonishing, firmly beating her back. Boom! A large amount of dirt and stone shot into the sky, surprisingly reaching an altitude several zhang high. The nearby ground displayed quaking that was visible to the naked eye. The white light halo around Hao Bingxin's body that filled the sky seemed about to break. Blood-red arrows once again sprayed through the sky. An enormous hole appeared in the wall of the palace. Terrifying strength, frightening destructive power. This was an existence that exceeded the limits of a human. Hao Bingxin's heart was shocked. The elder sister Five-Tiger General in front of her was too ferocious. The swift and severe mace let out an ear-piercing scream. Under the fire feather thunder beast, Qin Mingyue's speed and attack power were incomparable. Each hammer strike was comparable to a yellow technique, and furthermore, the fire feather beast spat out thunder fire, forcing Hao Bingxin to retreat step by step. The thunderous sounds of battle echoed across several kilometers. An ash-gray figure was smashed out from the dust. Scarlet blood poured from its body. Drawing far back several dozen zhang away, Hao Bingxin nearly collapsed. She could only use her sword to prop herself into heaving, her complexion was somewhat pale. One hand tightly clenched an open wound, doing her utmost to staunch the blood spilling out of her. Her eyes were full of shock. She had fought with Wu Xiao before and believed that her own strength could suffice. Now, facing this berserk Five Tigers General Fiery Thunderbolt, she then realized that time was merely playing around. Elder sister honestly does not hold back one bit. Hao Bingxin smacked her lips. Thundering grandeur. A booming rumble. The giant mace waved nearby, arrogantly biting over. Bang! Hao Bingxin swung her greatsword, using her dark technique White Dragon leaving sword tip. A white dragon flew out from her sword. Wherever it passed, everything was cut to pieces. Then, it slammed into Qin Mingyue. Hao Bingxin was fortunately a four-heavenly king, so her martial force was not lacking. Seizing her chance to close in, the great sword continuously wielded a splendid sword technique. White dragon leaving sword tip. White dragon leaving sword tip. Ray after ray of white dragons roared out from Hao Bingxin's sword, cutting the palace's topography into pieces as if they were slicing tofu. Several halls were turned to dust, and the white dragon surrounded Qin Mingyue. Even if she did not die, she must have been seriously wounded. But Hao Bingxin truly hated this, but... A bellowing voice shook the courtyard. Qin Mingyue's figure suddenly spun around, her mace like a whip as it mercilessly swept over Hao Bingxin's body, letting out an enormous noise. Her star beast howled. The fire feather thunder beast was torn apart by the white dragons, and Qin Mingyue withdrew her star beast in astonishment. Hao Bingxin did not expect her to be so resolute, which stifled her. Once again, she took the overwhelming advantage with thundering power. Magnificent star Hao Bingxin's body was completely unable to grasp any sense of balance. Surprisingly, she had been directly struck by Qin Mingyue's mace. In midair, she rolled several times, the intense pain instantly engulfing her whole body, making her unable to help but let out a groan. If it was not for her star beast's protection, she perhaps would be seriously wounded. This groan made Qin Mingyue especially satisfied. Her attack was even more berserk. A storm of flame roared out. With lightning-fast speed, Qin Mingyue's body arrived in a split second. Before Hao Bingxin could react, the wolf-toothed fire beacon mace already ruthlessly smashed towards Hao Bingxin's delicate body, mercilessly pounding her down. Like a wild animal, Qin Mingyue's eyes flashed with an ice-cold glint. In midair, she teleported, following as closely as a shadow. That enormous iron mace alternately waved, swift as a shooting star. Its terrifying noises continuously echoed in the space between them. Hao Bingxin bit her lip, arousing her battle potential. She could barely support her great sword, let alone that her own destined star weapon was wide enough to ward off this attack. From a distance of several hundred meters, under Qin Mingyue's thundering attack, Hao Bingxin's defenses became increasingly frail. She could only continuously focus all of her strength to a single point in order to withstand. Only now did she realize how frightening it was to face an elder sister. "Little sister, is this all you can do? Eat elder sister's mace!" Qin Mingyue explosively shouted. Intense pain made Hao Bingxin unable to even retort. A large bloodlight spurted from the air. The crimson color was ghastly to see. It mixed with the dust that churned in the air, drawing a long, bloody hue. Suddenly, Qin Mingyue swung down her mace that was heavy as 1,000 caddies. The giant wolf-toothed mace smashed into the sea of fire, forming a monster's maw, swallowing space. Any structure caught in this maw was turned into dust. This maw directly swallowed Hao Bingxin, and in the span of instant, swallowed and spat her out several dozen times. The movement was continuous and vicious. Following the progression of this attack, Qin Mingyue's mace abruptly swung away. Once again, she flew out using centrifugal force. In that instant, heaven and earth shook. Dark technique. Flame engulfing mountains rivers. After the flames passed, Hao Bingxin had stubbornly withstood them. However, the star beast possessing her body had already been destroyed by Qin Mingyue. She cut a very sorry figure, full of blood and cuts. If the girl could be described as a delicate ceramic, then in that instant, Hao Bingxin was full of cracks. "Bingxin." Yi Futu felt pained. "Do not move." Grandfather Li shouted. The 7 spirits absolute destruction array required all of the 7 spirits, so he could not move at all. Otherwise, everything would be ruined at the critical moment. Yi Futu grit his teeth. "Futu, Bingxin is fine." Hao Bingxin's complexion was pale. The girl forced a smile. "Humph." Qin Mingyue glanced at them. She disdainfully said, "Little sister, watch this." Saying this, she raised her mace and smashed it downwards. This strike would absolutely smash magnificent star Hao Bingxin back into the star nest. But at this moment, a sifting sound resounded in the air. Like a needle piercing through. Qin Mingyue was startled. She promptly stopped and waved a burst of wind and flame, knocking down the sneak-attacking poison needles. However, something even more dangerous came afterwards. A pair of twin sisters appeared in front of her, their ages similarly young, but their expressions were full of malice. These twins smiled, their communication thoroughly taciturn. Their hands danced at the same time. A poison snake phantom and a scorpion specter suddenly attacked. Heaven Earth Dark Yellow Skill, Snake and Scorpion Beauty's Kiss. Before Qin Mingyue could see clearly, her chest hurt. She had been hit. You finally came. Grandfather Li laughed. A beautiful woman emerged. She carried in her hand the stars falling dragon sword, and upon seeing this array, she was startled. She proudly nodded. 5 Tigers General Qin Ming. Today is your last day. Lady Snake Scorpion smiled sinisterly. At this moment, Captain of the Crystal Dragon Palace's Imperial Bodyguard, Long Feiji, brought 6 other dragon generals and rushed over from another side. Lady Snake Scorpion said, "It seems you have quite a lot of trouble. Leave this place to me." Ling Feishue and the other star generals were earnest. Who are you people, to unexpectedly dare cause trouble in the Crystal Dragon Palace? Long Feiji was shocked. He immediately shouted. Stop immediately. His answer was a flying dagger. Xiang Nongmei's eyes flashed with a keen light. The battle instantly began. The 6 that Long Feiji brought were of profound cultivation. The sword cultivator dragon generals, too, attacked without saying a word. Illusory saber light linked into a wall that was completely unable to obstruct Xiang Nongmei's superb hidden weapons. She did not care in the slightest about the weapons of the Dragon Palace's imperial bodyguards that flit past her body. Because that was nothing more than the shadow of an illusion. Suddenly, as if reacting to something, Long Feiji's cross spear, 3, waved about. Following the rings of metallic clashes, the cross spear blocked the incoming slash that had the force of 1,000 caddies. Countless lights and shadows hid their true sword. The instant their opponent was careless, the murderous intent that existed in reality would slay their prey in an instant. This was the aspect that a dragon general was truly strong in. But, this one-strike certain kill was unexpectedly blocked so easily. Long Feiji showed surprise. This is a star general. Use the dragon flying 9 firmaments array. The 7 dragon generals immediately regrouped. Knowing the might of a star general, they did not hesitate at all to use their special ability. The palms of Long Feiji's hands gathered a sparkling ball of light. The blinding silvery flame in his hands quickly spread all around, flowing like water from its master's arms. On the cross spear, a ripple of death was evoked. In the end, the flame condensed into a burning long sword. The dragon generals successively activated the chant, reading their incantations, and flaming swords manifested afterwards. Insignificant tricks. Ling Feishue snorted and fired. Concealed weapons and cannons attacked one after another. But the dragon generals immediately chanted together. Those blades became a dragon shape that unexpectedly stopped all attacks. This appeared somewhat interesting. Ling Feishue was already slightly intrigued by this Crystal Dragon Palace. As the most powerful dragon imperial guard of the Crystal Dragon Palace, the dragon general's formation was naturally surly. Gazing steadily at the figure within the silver flames, the eyes of Ling Feishue and the other star generals could not help but stare. Their pupils were much more astonished than before. The silver light was resplendent, forming a heavenly dragon. This was truly too shocking for the eyes. Towering in the silver flame, the flying dragon flapped its wings, looking as if it was about to plunge into the 9 firmaments. The surrounding cultivators were astonished as well. Both sides faced one another, neither breaking this equilibrium. Ling Feishue's thinking was not at all understanding of the dragon generals, but she was curious about to what degree a normal cultivator could reach. Kill! Long Feiji shouted. The next moment, the 7 dragon generals pointed their fingers. 7 gorgeous flying dragons shot out from their weapons, forming a single array. The entire palace was engulfed, even the 7 spirits' absolute destruction array. The flying dragons roared and began unbridled destruction. The silver flame did not harm any structures at all, but its power was not any one bit lowered. Despite her whole body being enveloped in a layer of star energy, Ling Feishue's clothes were not damaged at all. However, her mind began to hurt. Finally, she tasted suffering she had not felt in a long time. That pain of soul being burned, of being engulfed, was etched into her mind. This kind of pain originated directly from her mind. Swallowed by flame that poured down like a torrent, Ling Feishue coldly snorted. Done playing? Now it is our turn. Dark technique. Thunder clap fire rain. Dark technique. Bright mind dragon carving. Dark technique. Killing fish scales. Wu Xiao and Yang Zijin's battle was already like a wildfire entering its climax. The two were star generals of extraordinary martial arts. The latter was contracted to a star master with enormous star energy support and was already incapable of losing to Wu Xiao. In 100 bouts, her advantage was increasingly clear. Sensing that side was increasingly chaotic, Wu Xiao fought at full power. But the dark star before her eyes was far stronger than she had imagined. The two traded blows quickly at close range. Yang Zijin's attacks were extremely fast, and Wu Xiao's attacks were not weak. This kind of speed already made the two of them lose any time to think. The world consisted only of the shadows from their duel. At least in Hua Wenyue's eyes, it was a shadowy battle. As a star general also powerful in battle, Wu Xiao's boxing clearly surpassed Yang Zijin. Even if the latter possessed the treasure blade as ageless innate skill, there were many times that Wu Xiao had already broke into her opponent's striking distance. If it was not for Yang Zijin's realm being too fast, victory would have already been settled. 5. When Wu Xiao's sword edge once again sprayed sparks from Yang Zijin's weapon, the tranquil as water and detached woman also finally wrinkled her brow, feeling serious that she had been in this battle for so long. Watch this. Yang Zijin raised the extreme vast blue emperor saber. The blade slashed waved 3 times in succession, and a wave of scorching saber chi rushed out, ripple after ripple. It shockingly possessed the same power as Wu Xiao's rippling sword chi. Facing the incoming attack that toppled mountains and overturned oceans, Wu Xiao was not flustered at all. She rushed directly at the center of the saber chi. The saber chi rippled with a melodious sound. That was the rhythm of 2 divine weapons clashing. Yang Zijin suddenly waved her right hand at Wu Xiao. A dark power like a thunderstorm attacked. In the black sky, there was even more gloom. Then, the instant they brushed past one another, her weapon once again hacked a brilliant arc towards Wu Xiao. Humph. Wu Xiao scoffed. That is not certain. Accompanied by confident words, Wu Xiao's blade fiercely deflected. The next instant, the blade tip that held a cold light once again turned back like a serpent. This time, the sharp edge did not slow in the slightest as it broke through Wu Xiao's defense. The sharp edge instantly stabbed into Wu Xiao's left shoulder, drawing open another wound. Blood spurted out. An ice-cold wind rose, and just as she was prepared to deliver the final blow, Wu Xiao had already evaded, wounding herself at the same time with a sword strike. Elder sister, we'll help you. A loud shout resounded. Yang Zijin was taken aback. She saw several young girls. They were Yan Yizhen and the others. Meanwhile, at the Crystal Palace's main hall, everyone was stunned the moment the legendary 7 appeared. This legendary astral treasure that could forcibly rescind and recontract had been hyped increasingly to a fever pitch. Any star master would drool over this, but as for whether the 7 was genuine or not, no one could be certain. The hall was instantly silent. Everyone looked around, probably in search of Su Xing's whereabouts. Everyone knew that the purple thunder monster had contracted Lin Chong. This 7 was perhaps a countermeasure against him. Bidding begins now. Long Wanxin said. The moment she finished speaking. I bid 50 trillion. For resounding and powerful words instantly made everyone even more quiet. This bid's voice came from a magnificent booth. The window was unobscured, yet there was only a vaguely visible graceful figure. 50 trillion. No one else dared bid. Who were they kidding? Perhaps the double seven was very useful in the star duels, but to a sect, it was completely meaningless. They could not possibly waste 50 trillion on a mere star general. But Imperial Princess has a condition. She must know whether or not this double seven is useful. Jinji said. Long Wanxin nodded. This map records the location of the double seven. You may try it, however, this was the addition of an adept. This palace knows not whether it is real or fake. Please be aware. Long Wanxin's words were very gentle, yet everyone noticed something. No matter. Long Wanxin did not expect the double seven to have bid at such a high value, however, she did not count on just 50 trillion. I could have gotten so much more. She sighed in her heart. Just as she was about to bring out the ninth and final item. Suddenly, a Long clan sister urgently walked in and said something to Long Nu. Just at this moment, the entire suddenly shook, as if by an earthquake. Ah, that! Frightened shouts sprung everywhere. Countless cultivators that were spectating the auction cried out and scattered everywhere. Long Wanxin was startled and put away the last auction item. The Crystal Dragon Palace quaked even more fiercely. Everyone ran away. That is, Shiyu saw that a scene far away suddenly changed. Above the Crystal Dragon Palace, an enormous vortex had appeared. In the vortex, the 7 spirit lights of metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind and thunder jumped about. In the stirring storm, countless figures were fighting. Heaven fell and the earth rend, very fierce. This is... The Supervoid top-notch cultivators each changed expressions. The Crystal Dragon Palace was situated in the deep sea. Its foundation was the most sturdy of all of Liangshan continent's sets, and because it had the connecting heaven-ocean settling pearls, it was stable as a boulder. Even in a major disaster, it would be difficult to shake it. But that formation was something else. The vortex anomaly that appeared made the entire Crystal Dragon Palace quake. Not good. Emperor Liang was taken aback. He promptly flew over, but he stopped instantly. A dragon-shaped wind was spat out of the vortex. Immediately afterwards, sand and stone flew away. Metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind and thunder all flew about at once. A powerful pressure made many cultivators unable to stand. A few cultivators wanted to run, but they were instantly killed by the rolling wind. By the time the dust settled, the Crystal Dragon Palace recovered its clarity. 3 figures simultaneously appeared in the sky above. Among them was a very graceful youth wearing an imperial robe. Her hand held a scroll, and a hairpin and crown sat atop her head. Her robe fluttered, quite with a feeling that was carefree of the world. That youth was extremely refined, and there were 2 women beside that youth. Even Emperor Liang was unable to see through their cultivation. But that imperial robe of Liao beasts, how could Emperor Liang ever forget it? She was none other than that prehistoric Liao Emperor Yelü Hui. The 3 figures slowly descended. The leader was a refined, delicate and learned young girl. She wore the black and yellow imperial robe of the great Liao and donned a set of swan and eye armor. The hair along the sides of her head ran in front of her chest. If it was not for that slightly bulging chest that clearly showed she was of the female sex, she would have seemed like an elegant and beautiful youth who was gentle as jade. There were 2 women beside the girl. The one on her left was mature and seductive. Her eyes showed a nefarious glint, and her hair was tied into 2 ponytail. She had an odd 3-layered armor covering her upper body. The inner layer was chainmail, the middle layer an armor of sea beast hide, and the outer layer was golden armor. Her black leather trousers stuck against her slender legs. The girl on the right wore dark purple armor. She had light purple hair and a pair of eyes red as blood. She appeared exceptionally frightening. Strangely, various kinds of runes hovered around the girl's surroundings. Having read and reread the 1000-year history of Liangshan to the point of memorization, Emperor Liang naturally recognized those 2 girls. One was named Wuyan Guang, who named herself the Great Liao's #1 martial general. The other was He Chongbao. 2. She was capable of using magic unknown to gods or devils. When the great Liao originally invaded the Azure Dragon, the extraordinarily remarkable powers of these 3 girls made the Azure Dragon territory's cultivators helpless in the face of a crisis. The girls' immortal and indestructible, 3, bodies in the end could only be sealed into the along the river during Qingming by relying on the powers of 100 Supervoid cultivators. It was precisely because of that calamity before the dawn of time that Supervoid cultivators would fade from this world, becoming increasingly weak. The 3 emerged, and the Crystal Dragon Palace was deathly silent. The prehistoric Liao Emperor, how is this possible? Xu Xindao was slightly shocked. This situation had changed too drastically. They had just been guessing the plan of the ones that stole the along the river during Qingming. Who would have thought that in just several days, the prehistoric Liao Emperor would already emerge? Yelü Hui closed the scroll. She had a docile, harmless appearance. Her face wore a smile as she looked around at Grandfather Li and the others. Was it you that released us? Your servant Taisui greets the great king. Grandfather Li and the others announced themselves. How many years have passed? Yelü Hui asked. Liao Emperor, you have been sealed in the along the river during Qingming for almost 1,000 years. What a surprise, so long. The girl hummed. Great king. This place looks to be very lively. Wuyan Guang licked her lips, currently worried that her lips were chapped. She looked at the massive crystal palace and the millions of cultivators with a savage grin as if she was about to gorge herself on blood. As the great Liao's #1 great general, the stench of blood billowed from her head to toe, making her surroundings fall into a malevolent ocean of blood. This place is the Crystal Dragon Palace, currently holding its treasure banquet that occurs once every 50 years. The Azure Dragon territory's strongest cultivators are practically all here. Grandfather Li smiled wholeheartedly, completely like a kindly old man. But every word he said, every sentence made the Azure Dragon cultivators' whole bodies shudder, extremely frightened. You truly are considerate. Yelü Hui benevolently smiled. She swept her gaze all around. Those eyes immediately saw through the Crystal Dragon Palace. Only so few Azure Dragon cultivators. Emperor Liang, immortal outside heaven, Xu Xindao, and the Supervoid peak cultivators were pale, dripping in cold sweat. Your Highness, fellows, what are you all afraid of? This Liao Emperor has been refined in the along the river during Qingming for 1,000 years. There is no need to fear her now. She is no more than a girl fresh off the teat. A Supervoid early-stage scattered cultivator arrogantly shouted, immediately showing contempt when he saw that Emperor Liang and the others were surprisingly stretched as taut as bowstrings. This scattered cultivator yelled and put his palms together. 55 wide black iron swords appeared, turned into rainbow light and swiftly slashed. Do not be reckless. Immortal outside heaven was startled and hastily called out to stop him. But she was already too late. It happened in an instant. The Supervoid early-stage scattered cultivator's sword array had barely taken shape. This young and vigorous man still maintained a perfect defensive stance. In the blink of an eye, accompanied by the muffled thud of his heart being run through, everyone nevertheless suddenly noticed that Wuyan Guang was already standing beside the man. They were shoulder to shoulder, his blood splattering about. An alloy-tipped spear directly pierced through the Supervoid cultivator's various defensive magic weapons. Then, while he was still talking big, it impaled his innards. The cultivator's eyes widened. He hung on the spear's tip like a scrap of paper fluttering in the wind. He whimpered a few times, and his eyes finally dimmed. He was still. Instant kill. Everyone choked. They did not dare imagine that a Supervoid cultivator would surprisingly be killed in a single instant. Cultivators are still so weak. Wuyan Guang sneered, throwing the corpse away. And how will you manage against this king this time around? Yelü Hui played with a strand of hair that lay across her chest. Take advantage of the fact that the Liao Emperor has yet to recover after emerging from her seal. Everyone, we ask that you set aside your grudges and unite in the Azure Dragon territory's moment of crisis. No eggs stay intact under an overturned nest. Emperor Liang shouted, his voice was like a booming bell, shaking the crystal palace. The Emperor of the Great Liang released his true dragon imperial qi. In a split second, a 9-talon golden dragon took shape from nothingness. Immortal outside heaven, Shu Xindao, Long Wanxin and the other Supervoid peak cultivators each nodded and used their strongest abilities. Just at this moment, an enormous boom practically shattered the Crystal Dragon Palace's barrier. The seawater outside the palace rolled. A corner of the Crystal Dragon Palace suddenly split with innumerable cracks. Then, streams of flaming lava spewed out, forming spectacular fire dragons. A faint wind rolled in several kilometers, making everyone gasp. A powerful force rose from the ground, seemingly about to pulverize the Crystal Dragon Palace. Emperor Liang, the Liao Emperor, and others suddenly froze. They heard a frighteningly forceful voice come suddenly from within the flames. Earth Rank Technique, Heaven Falls Earth Rends. Fiery Thunderbolt Qin Mingyue was injured by the Heaven-Earth Dark Yellow of the Xia twin heavenly stars. The twins each dashed, tacitly using their dark rank in preparation to crush the Five Tigers general. Qin Mingyue's face was a complete red. Her hands tightly gripped the Wolf Fang fire beacon mace, and a red star crest glimmered on her forehead. Her pupils were brilliant as gems. At this juncture, she used her dark rank, Heaven Falls Earth Rends. With Qin Mingyue as the center, a range of several kilometers was disintegrated by her mace. Lava and fire dragons gushed out, surrounding the Xia twins. Instantly, there was an explosion. Lady Snake Scorpion was pale from shock. She promptly raised the stars falling dragon sword to resolve a portion of the force, quelling the flames. Savage Star Xia Diao and Crying Star Xia Chan were already covered in cuts and bruises. They even had to rely on sacrificing their star beasts, green-scaled unicorn python, and devouring infant, in order to avoid this disaster. Qin Mingyue gasped for breath. The little Loli's tiny hands that held her massive mace were already quivering, but her eyes were full of determination. Snake Scorpion Beauty's kiss was taking effect in Qin Mingyue's body, making the little Loli suffer unbearably. Die! Xie Diao and Xie Chan suddenly pounced. A shadow quickly flashed by Qin Mingyue's side, taking her away at the last moment. The Xia twins gnashed their teeth, thinking of running. They waved their hands, throwing out 5-star destined weapons. Several bangs. In midair, a staff swept them down. Little sisters, you honestly are like snakes and scorpions in mind. 9 tattooed dragons Shi Jingluan rode atop her single-horned Pishio beast. High above, she hung an indifferent smile upon her face, wielding the yellow dragon staff in one hand. Minute Star. Xia Chan ground her teeth. Courting Death, Dark Technique, Provoke Bees Vex Scorpions. The golden scorpion fine rain needles flew out, becoming a stream of golden lights. Humph. Shi Jingluan snorted disdainfully. The single-horned Pishio beast furiously roared, shaking out an astral wave that blocked the dark technique. 9 tattooed dragons flashed away, descending in front of Xie Chan. Little sister, be careful. Xie Diao shouted. Her bamboo viper gloom blade hissed towards Shi Jingluan. The yellow dragon staff transformed into a dragon phantom that pounced on Xie Chan. The girl was wounded yet used a dark technique. She had no leeway to defend against this. Shi Jiuling's yellow dragon worships heaven directly struck Xie Chan. Then, her staff technique swept as fast as lightning, beating Xie Chan into the star nest. Little sister. Xie Diao turned pale. Shi Jingluan whirled around. Her footwork changed, and then she slashed at Xie Diao. Xie Diao was far more composed than her little sister. She had already prepared to use the bamboo viper green gloom edge to block. The single-horned Pishio beast to the side roared to shake her off. Savage Star's hands came together, and the bamboo viper green gloom edge suddenly manifested a viper's phantom. Instantly, 9 tattooed dragons and her star beast were surrounded. This was precisely a dark technique. Long serpent big boar. 5. Elder sister, are you alright? Wang Jingji looked at Qin Mingyue and hastily asked. Qin Mingyue was heavily injured, her expression becoming increasingly pale. I shall bring elder sister to go see big sister Qingxi. Wang Jingji grabbed Qin Mingyue and teleported. Qin Mingyue, Shi Jingluan, and the Xia twins' battle was no more than a few moments, but this nevertheless made everyone in the Crystal Dragon Palace hold their breath for a moment. That vast heaven falls earth rends practically was about to crumble the Crystal Dragon Palace. Some cultivators had begun to flee in fright. Yelü Hui spotted them, showing an odd expression. Who are they? Yelü Hui's brows slightly wrinkled. She surprisingly sensed the same kind of aura that she had. Grandfather Li took the opportunity to inform Yelü Hui the whole story. Star Generals. Yelü Hui looked at the star maidens, and the creases in her brow became apparently even deeper. Tai Sui. At this time, Lady Snake Scorpion and the Holy Lord of Draconic Demon rushed to his side, their expressions astonished and full of caution. They had yet to decide their position on this legendary Liao Emperor. Great King, in this treasure banquet, our 3 territories have not only united to massacre the Azure Dragon, we also wish to topple Maiden Mountain. Zhang Feng reverently said, what does the Great King think? Yelü Hui gazed at Li Xiangfei and the other star generals. Then, she glanced at He Chongbao. A strange luster flashed past her eyes and she struck her palm, saying, good, good, good. Then she said, you have spoken very well. This king shall ponder about Maiden Mountain's barrier. At that time, you will accompany this king together to attack Maiden Mountain. Pausing, Yelü Hui looked around the whole Crystal Dragon Palace. She suddenly smiled, can the star generals of Maiden Mountain present here hear me? If you are willing to follow this king in attacking Maiden Mountain, then join this king's faction. This king treats everyone favorably, without exception. If you wish to be enemies, then do not blame this king for being merciless. The originally restless star masters were suddenly somewhat hesitant upon hearing this. Guang, let them know of this king's might. Yelü Hui slightly smiled. As you command. Wuyan Guang smiled broadly. With spear in hand, she suddenly rushed towards Xu Xindao. Xu Xindao raised the yellow springs brush, madly writing calligraphy in his hands. The calligraphy attacked Wuyan Guang as if they were substantive. Each brush stroke contained Xu Xindao's Supervoid peak power. The characters were comparable to a few dozen magic weapons, but this calligraphy melted away like snow upon touching Wuyan Guang's 3-layered armor. Watch this, Wuyan Guang grinned, and her spear twisted. Xu Xindao was surprised. He promptly wanted to escape, but Wuyan Guang's spear was honestly too fast. Instantly, it twisted in front of his face. The yellow springs brush and calligraphy were the first to be ground to pieces. Then, the spear slashed. Emperor Liang and Immortal outside heaven wanted to save him, but the shaking of Wuyan Guang's spear nevertheless left the two of them with no way to get close. Quickly use the Tree Clarity's banner to save him. By the time she spoke, the great Liao's #1 fierce general showed 2 beast-like fangs. Her spear stabbed directly towards the lifeless hall's #1 ancestor, Xu Xindao. Xu Xindao's face was ashen, in despair. Just as Wuyan Guang's spear was about to cut down Xu Xindao, against a transforming star of annihilation level martial general in close range, even a Supervoid peak cultivator would be unable to last. It was just at this critical moment that 3 rays of jadeite hidden weapons flew over with a sonic boom. After 3 bangs, they struck against the spear. The hidden weapons wrapped in powerful force then pushed back the spear. Only then did Xu Xindao escape from under her spear, avoiding this disaster. Wuyan Guang was surprised. She gloomily looked at the young girl who interrupted her attack. Zhang Biluo coldly stared back at her, not at all swayed by her opponent's frightening aura. Her fingers parted, and 8 rhomboid jadeite concealed weapons wound around her fingertips. Number 1 fierce general of the great Liao, let us see what you can do. Yan Wudao sneered. He brought out the 6 paths plate, striking with several rays of black light. When the black light slammed onto Wuyan Guang, it was immediately devoured by the sea of blood surrounding her body. This powerful prehistoric spirit treasure was surprisingly completely ineffective against her. Jadeite hidden weapons? Is it that maiden mountain agile star? Wuyan Guang's eyebrows rose, showing a cruel grin. I shall take you as tribute for the great king leaving seclusion. The sea of blood suddenly lowered, its speed beyond normal limits. A sharp white ray attacked in right before Zhang Biluo's eyes. Zhang Biluo faded into nothingness, using her innate skill. Gods appear, devils vanish. Wuyan Guang sneered. She suddenly thrust her spear. The air immediately blossomed with an elegant splatter of blood. Zhang Biluo groaned as she was cut out of her invisibility. The girl flexed her fingers and used her dark technique, Hell Has No Road. 8 asking directions to the underworld stones slammed into Wuyan Guang's 3-layered armor. The northern Liao's number 1 fierce general was completely unmoved, like a boulder. Her body merely rocked gently. Sword array. Yan Wudao activated his sword array. At the same time, the Shu Xindao who escaped with his life swiftly used his most powerful sword array. His flying swords divided into 4, then 4 into 8, combining into an arc of light. In a rush to die. Wuyan Guang was furious. Her powerful aura shook for several miles. Everyone shuddered. Even someone as powerful as Emperor Liang felt the pressure. Then, there was a magnificent arc. The sword array Shu Xindao had hastily used to provide support was surprisingly destroyed in one blow. Following that, killing intent that toppled mountains and overturned seas pressed in. Shu Xindao's eyes widened. He unexpectedly felt that he had sunk into the ocean, powerless to struggle. Bang! The killing intent engulfed Shu Xindao. From this lifeless Hall's Supervoid late-stage ancestor was immediately destroyed, with no body to bury. Ancestral Master. Yan Wudao was pale. Before he could feel regret, Wuyan Guang's true attack was carried out. Her killing intent covered him, and the girl was already in front of Yan Wudao a split second later, attacking at the same time. The presence of the powerful martial general nearly made Yan Wudao choke. For the first time, a sort of fear rose in his heart. Was this a transforming star of annihilation general? Yan Wudao saw the glinting cold light of the spear was about to smother him. Wudao! Zhang Biluo screamed. Her green figure leapt in front of him. This slash directly cut into her back. The girl vomited blood. Biluo! Yan Wudao's face once again chilled. Hugging Zhang Biluo, he fled several hundred meters away. Zhang Biluo's clothes were bloody, her breathing ragged. Return to the star nest. Yan Wudao did not hesitate to order her. Wudao, be careful. Zhang Biluo left behind one pale worry and then vanished from sight. She disappeared. Wuyan Guang said in astonishment. Yan Wudao stared straight at Wuyan Guang. His expression that was cold as a knife showed slight enmity. Northern darkness has fish, why did you not use the 3 clarities banner to save Shu Xindao? Immortal outside heaven icily spat each word. If Northern Darkness has fish had used the 3 clarities banner just now, he could have still rescued Shu Xindao, but for some reason, after the Liao Emperor appeared, Northern Darkness has fish had maintained an unsteady expression, as if he was hesitating over something. This made Immortal outside heaven considerably enraged. Northern Darkness has fish was silent, his eyes full of gloom. Northern Darkness has fish, if you do not wish to ruin the illustrious name of the Most High Path for generations, then set aside your grudges for now. Emperor Liang coldly said. How could he not see what Northern Darkness has fish was thinking about? Today is the day the Azure Dragon territory is destroyed. The Azure Dragon territory has dominated the star duels for 8 generations. Now, the time has come for a transition of power. Zhang Feng clearly said. Every one of his words held a forceful pressure. Those galaxy and other cultivators could only feel powerless to resist. Following Zhang Feng finishing his speech, the other White Tiger 7 spirit stars flew to his side, each revealing their star general, a very spectacular sight. Besides the White Tiger 7 spirit stars, the Black Turtle territory's Holy Lord of Draconic Demon and the Vermilion Bird territory's Lady Snake Scorpion were present. Do the Azure Dragon territory's Star Masters dare fight a war? Shi Jiuying mercilessly laughed. The Azure Dragon territory could be said to be looking at each other in dismay. The Star Masters with the greatest qualifications were considered Xie Yuan and Zhao Hanyan, but looking around at everyone present, there was surprisingly no trace of either of the two. That left the Azure Dragon territory's next-in-line Star Master as Yan Wudao. He was righteous and severe, but Featherless Arrow had been cut down into the star nest by Wuyan Guang. Even the Star General Agile Star Zhang Qing, who was number 1 in concealed weapons, was defeated. The other Star Masters did not dare utter a word. At this moment, the people remaining suddenly recalled one other person, a man who overturned heaven and earth in the Azure Dragon territory, who overturned the rivers and seas, who fought against a crazy tide in the Vermilion Bird territory, the Purple Thunder Monster, and he had another nickname, the Purple Thunder Saint. Northern Darkness has Fish loudly and clearly shouted, Purple Thunder Monster, if you act against the 3 territories now, this ancestor shall immediately write off our grudge. Everyone else was cried out in relief upon hearing this. But no one responded. Northern Darkness has Fish had wanted to take advantage of this chance to draw out the Purple Thunder Monster and his numerous star generals. Then, he would use the connecting heaven-ocean settling pearls to seal and kill him, but he continued to wait for a response to no avail, which slightly puzzled him. Just at this moment, a rumbling cave-in occurred in an area of the Crystal Palace. A gorgeous pavilion toppled, and a graceful chant suddenly emerged from the strange lights that covered the skies. 8 Gates Black Gold Chain, Dark Rank Technique, binds silk before rain. A beautiful girl of graceful physique pointed her finger. Bizarre dark gold chains of light wound closely in space. Yang Zijin raised her extreme vast blue emperor saber. Her swordsmanship was breathtaking beyond compare. Ray after ray of blue saber light cut against the unending chains. Wu Xinjie's bind silk before rain made wherever Yang Zijin stood seem like a prison. The chains appeared in every position with unpredictable speed and angles. If it was not for Yang Zijin's superb realm, her surly saber technique that had been passed on over generations, perhaps she would need only a few seconds to be bound to death by the 8 Gates black gold chains. With a clanging noise, Yang Zijin seized upon a fleeting gap in coverage. She flashed away in that instant the moment the 8 Gates black gold chain appeared, finally withdrawing from the dead zone. Bind's silk before rain came to an abrupt end. Everyone's eyes lit up when they saw those chains. Were those not the knowledge star resourceful star Wuyang's second destined star weapon? In that battle, there were more figures. This meant that the Purple Thunder Monster had already begun battle. Since you are not willing to submit, then do not blame this king for being merciless. Yelü Hui courteously smiled. This palace actually wants to see whether or not the connecting heaven-ocean settling pearls can take you. Long Wanxin sneered. She said to Northern Darkness has Fish, Northern Darkness, now that the Liao Emperor has appeared, Wanxin will need those 12 connecting heaven-ocean settling pearls back for the time being. When Northern Darkness has Fish saw that she wanted to use the connecting heaven-ocean settling pearls, he knew that he could no longer hesitate. Regardless of just where the Purple Thunder Monster was, since his knowledge star was here, he must inevitably be snooping around in the shadows. Northern Darkness has Fish nodded. He closed his eyes, and his most high jade clarity flying swords formed a sword array. Northern Darkness has Fish began to form hand seals and chant an incantation. The skillful masters of old, with a subtle and exquisite penetration, comprehended its mysteries, and were deep so as to elude men's knowledge. As they were thus beyond men's knowledge, I will make an effort to describe of what sort they appeared to be. Shrinking like those who wade through a stream in winter, irresolute like those who are afraid of all around them, awestruck like a guest, evanescent like ice melting away, unpretentious like wood that has not been fashioned into anything, vacant like a valley, and dull like muddy water. 2. Upon hearing this incantation, her face suddenly changed. Is this not the incantation for the 24 connecting heaven-ocean settling pearls? Prehistoric spirit treasures often had no restrictions for use, but there were some treasures that required an incantation to control. For example, the treasure bowl, soul-summoning banner, and the heaven-connecting ocean settling pearls were like this. With just half of the connecting heaven-ocean settling pearls, the other 12 could be controlled as well. It was because of this that Long Wanxin had no misgivings lending them out. So long as she had that incantation, she was not afraid of not retrieving them, but she had never thought that Northern Darkness has fish would suddenly chant the incantation to the connecting heaven-ocean settling pearls. For a palace guarding treasure like this, the Crystal Dragon Palace closely guarded the psychic incantation. Only the Imperial Empress of each generation knew of it. Long Wanxin did not know how he knew of it. For a time, she was somewhat at a loss. Northern Darkness, what is the meaning of this? That state of vacancy should be brought to the utmost degree, and that of stillness guarded with untiring vigor. All things alike go through their processes of activity, and we see them return to their original form. When things have displayed their luxuriant growth, we see each of them return to their roots. This returning to their root is what we call the state of stillness, and that stillness may be called a reporting that they have fulfilled their appointed end. The report of that fulfillment is the regular, unchanging rule. To know that unchanging rule is to be intelligent, not to know it leads to wild movements and evil issues. The knowledge of that unchanging rule produces a capacity and forbearance, and that capacity and forbearance lead to a community of empathy. From this community of empathy comes a kingliness of character, and he who is king-like goes on to be heaven-like. In that likeness to heaven he possesses the Tao. Possessed of the Tao, he endures long, and to the end of his bodily life, is exempt from all danger of decay. Following the end of the incantation, the Crystal Dragon Palace suddenly glowed brilliantly. All around the palace, 12 resplendent pearls as vast as the sun and moon hovered high above, releasing azure light. These light rays combined into one ray, merging with each other, like an immense honeycomb, but some were missing, which felt somewhat regrettable. Northern Darkness has fish then raised the 12 connecting heaven-ocean settling pearls in his hand. These 12 pearls rocketed into the sky, expanding suddenly and embedded themselves among the others. In a split second, the Crystal Dragon Palace was enveloped in a barrier thin as a cicada's wing. The Crystal Dragon Palace inherently had a barrier to keep out the fathoms of deep sea. This was nothing unusual to everyone, but they felt that those lens-like rhomboid barriers were releasing a somewhat unsettling pressure. Strange, there seems to be no air. It's true. What is happening? How have those ruins and dust just froze there? Everyone suddenly noticed that the atmosphere was slightly different. The collapsed palace, the disturbed dust, and the slight airflow had all unexpectedly froze in midair. Ocean settling barrier. Emperor Liang's tone sunk. He discerned that the Crystal Dragon Palace had already become a cage, with no one allowed to enter or exit. Northern Darkness has fish, what are you doing? Long Wanxin shouted, pale. Northern Darkness has fish slowly opened his eyes. He expressionlessly glanced at Long Wanxin. He then waved his sleeve and rushed towards the Liao Emperor. Wuyan Guang had thought to slay him, but Yelü Hui's expression hinted to her. Thus, she stayed her hand. Everyone had thought that the Most High Path's #1 ancestor was staking his life against the Liao Emperor, and they charged together in a fervor. Northern Darkness has fish was halfway there when he suddenly felt his whole body be restricted by a sort of pressure. He raised his head to see He Chongbao was using magic. He was inwardly astonished. He was surprisingly unable to break free even with his Supervoid peak cultivation. This power really was the legendary transforming star of annihilation. As he was inwardly afraid, Northern Darkness has Fish bowed his head in even greater deference. Your servant Northern Darkness has Fish is willing to join your Majesty Liao Emperor. Boom. The Crystal Dragon Palace sunk into a deathly stillness that was even more terrifying than the ocean settling barrier. The tens of thousands of cultivators were dumbstruck. They did not dare believe the sight they saw before them. The number one ancestral master of the Azure Dragon Territory's number one sect, the Most High Path, had unexpectedly defected. Northern Darkness has Fish. How can you just submit to one sorcerer, to just capitulate? Long Wanxin furiously shouted. A fine bird chooses a tree to nest in. Fellows, there is no need to persist in your wrong ways. Northern Darkness has Fish matter-of-factly said. Immortal Outside Heaven jeered. Northern Darkness has Fish, fancy that you took rash action as the head of the Most High Path. Today, the Most High Path's generations of repute have been buried by your hand. When 3 of his Fish's junior brothers died to the Purple Thunder monster, the Most High Path was already that in name only. Immortal Outside Heaven, in your current righteousness, how can you know your servant's feelings? Profound hatred appeared in Northern Darkness has Fish's eyes. To be able to make the number one ancestor of the Most High Path who practiced the Most High indifference feel this, it was obvious he already hated the Purple Thunder monster to the bone. Senior brother Northern Darkness, you absolutely cannot be confused in the heat of the moment. Long Wanxin called out. Long Wanxin, the one who is confused is you. Emperor Liang sneered, did you think he would let us live? By the time every cultivator in the barrier was dead, no one would have known anything had happened. Emperor Liang could imagine that Northern Darkness has Fish would seize the opportunity to declare himself number one, to once again rouse the Most High Path's might. Northern Darkness has Fish chuckled. Evidently, it was as Emperor Liang had anticipated. Long Wanxin's complexion was frosty. If you are finished chatting, is it not about time to offer tribute? Yelü Hui, the corner of her lips curled in a smile. We actually would like to see what capabilities you have. Emperor Liang's divine intent moved. The 72 outer void flying immortals' swords split into 72 absolutely beautiful immortals. These wonderful fairies held blades in their hands, raising a graceful sword dance in midair. Their apparently agile and relaxed movements nevertheless emitted a mountain-toppling sword chi. I shall assist you. Immortal Outside Heaven shouted, similarly using her own 72 Udi void flying immortal swords. Her sword chant was renowned as number one in the true immortal hall, and even Emperor Liang could not compare. Her 72 flying swords had already reached the true spirit realm. Fairies that were far more beautiful than Emperor Liang's flying swords were like swords, their delicate fingers waved swords with a heaven-shaking sword chi. 2 excellent Supervoid cultivators released the 72 outer void flying immortals swords they had cultivated to true spirit at full power. In a split second, the Crystal Dragon Palace's skies were fluttering with more than 100 true immortals in beautiful dance. This apparently absolutely beautiful scene was moving beyond description. The 100 true spirit immortals attacked at the same time. The killing intent of the flying swords shook the Crystal Dragon Palace like heaven-flooding tsunami, and the other lower cultivation, even the supercluster ancestors, people could only barely resist. A clear dragon cry suddenly sounded out. Among the frenzy of the 144 true immortals, there were suddenly hundreds of swarming water dragons. These dragons had a vaguely visible blue flying sword body, but their shape was that of a 100 chi dragon. The dragon scales covering their whole bodies glinted with blue light, similarly not to be underestimated. Northern Darkness has Fish, you have made Wanxin very disappointed. Long Wanxin shouted. This was none other than her supreme grade sword chant 5 Lakes Dragon Roar 4 Seas Heaven-splitting sword. 2. What a powerful sword chant, is this a real peak cultivator? Shiyu watched this breathtaking scene in awe, speechless. The powerful sword chi that the flying swords emitted practically made the similarly supervoid Shiyu feel stunned. Unlike star masters that relied on their star energy to reach instant success, whose cultivation could reach peak state in a few short years, Liangshan continent's other cultivators were required to waste enormous effort in order to train and cultivate. It was precisely because of this reason that cultivators who could reach Supervoid peak often cultivated their flying swords to frightening realms over many years. Cultivators that reached this realm needed only their sword chant to be able to stand arrogant and proud. Sword chants are actually more interesting than before. Wuyan Guang laughed and advanced. The true spirit heavenly immortals and the 100 water dragons intermingled. If it was any other person, they perhaps would have long already been completely destroyed by these flying swords, but after Wuyan Guang laughed aloud, the spear in her hand appeared fearless. The spear slashed out a waterfall-like cold light. The true spirit fairies and the water dragon barely withstood this exchange before being repelled. Outer void flying immortals sword array. 5 lakes 4 seas sword array. Emperor Liang and the other 2 formed hand seals and activated sword arrays. The other cultivators present all used their flying sword abilities to provide assistance. Very quickly, several thousand flying swords flew about and whipped towards the Liao Emperor. Only this level of power. Yelü Hui shook her head. The expressionless girl He Chongbao behind her extended her hand. A blood-colored rune formed into a profound array. Then, the rune spun about and fell into the sword arrays. Suddenly, bloody light radiated, and 1,000 bloody chains abruptly shot out and firmly seized all the flying swords. The 1,000 flying swords cried out incessantly in midair, surprisingly unable to budge after being frozen by the rune. Emperor Liang and the others urged on all of their magic energy, but the absolute heavenly immortals could only futilely struggle. What powerful magic! Emperor Liang's heart sank. He once again formed a hand seal. The true dragon imperial chi coiling around his body formed an enormous 5-clawed true dragon. The true dragon roared, and yellow light filled the sky, suddenly shattering the blood chains. True dragon imperial chi was Emperor Liang's most powerful ability. For Emperor Liang to rely on brute force to bring the imperial family to the summit of the Azure Dragon territory, other than his strategies, using the imperial family's true dragon chi to produce a unique ability was another important reason. He Chongbao's eyes let out a cold glint. Her body shuddered, and 12 blood shadows swiftly flew out. The world was a thorough red, enshrouded in a blood-colored light. The 12 blood shadows turned their terrible steaming chi into demons that menacingly surrounded the true dragon, constricting it. Then, He Chongbao pointed her finger again. An enormous and complex array was erected in midair. The freed flying swords were immediately locked outside. Upon seeing Emperor Liang's powers that were unrivaled in Liangshan were unable to break through, Immortal Outside Heaven, Long Wanxin, and the other cultivators hurriedly activated magic weapons. A rainbow bandage flew out from Immortal Outside Heaven's sleeve. This rainbow gauze expanded, forming a rainbow canopy. The multicolored light attacked the blood shadows. Long Wanxin's mouth read an incantation, and she tossed out the hairpin in her hand. Then, she pointed, and that white jade hairpin became a half-black, half-white light ray several chi long. It flew towards Wuyan Guang. This heavenly rainbow bandage and jade light sword hairpin were the most capable magic weapons these two possessed. However, top-notch cultivators like them already had no need to rely on magic weapons. Although the magic weapons they activated were not comparable to the Spirit Sealing List's Great 10 Spirit Treasures, by relying on their innate magic energy, they could still be surly. The heavenly rainbow bandage and the jade light sword hairpin were rolled away by 2 rays of clear chi. Raising their heads to look, Northern Darkness has Fish shook the 3 Clarities banner. This banner was the size of his palm, with eccentric characters composed upon it, showing extreme clarity, jade clarity, and high clarity, the 3 clarities immortal light. Extreme clarity could stall magic weapons, jade clarity could break abilities, and high clarity could capture souls. The 3 clarities combined into their original form could even produce projections, which could be said to be supreme. Northern Darkness has Fish, have you truly resolved yourself to be the Liao Emperor's lackey? Long Wanxin shouted in disappointment. Could it be you truly plan to kill everyone here? Long Wanxin, 100 Supervoid cultivators back then could not handle the Liao Emperor. Do you believe that just the few of us can resist just as well? Northern Darkness has fish coldly answered. The Liao Emperor has just emerged from her seal, and you saw how Shu Xindao was killed in one blow by Wuyan Guang. With things as they stand, do you still not understand the situation? Idiot, you think that the Liao Emperor will let you go? Immortal Outside Heaven disdainfully sneered. Northern Darkness has fish shuddered from head to toe. Without saying another word, the Three Clarities flag shook out the extreme clarity immortal light. Despite her feelings, upon seeing him put himself in a dead end, Long Wanxin was furious again. She used Heavenly Water Divine Thunder. This thunder was obtained from the Heavenly Water volume of the Five Spirits Heavenly Book's Water Spirit Book. Its might could not be underestimated. You can all die. Wuyan Guang attacked at this moment. Her spearhead glinted and then slashed. Your high cultivation is not bad, but this fairy does not fear you. Immortal Outside Heaven was cold as frost, unyielding. The outer void flying immortal swords combined into one and caught Wuyan Guang's spear. The two weapons clashed, exploding with glaring light, just like a small sun suddenly igniting. Immortal Outside Heaven's body sunk, and her whole body went numb. Her body was nearly unsteady. In her heart, she was overwhelmed at her opponent's terrifying martial force. This slash's power drained her. She immediately recoiled back from the strong light. A blue ray shot out from the light, directly flying towards Immortal Outside Heaven's head. Immortal Outside Heaven was too late to dodge, and her shoulder was cut into by Wuyan Guang's spear. With a ripping sound, Immortal Outside Heaven's Nikhang Heavenly Feather Rainbow Raiment was torn to shreds, disintegrating. This magic weapon was slashed apart by Wuyan Guang's spear. A hole was gouged out of her shoulder's flesh. Blood flowed out directly, painful enough to make Immortal Outside Heaven grit her teeth. Wuyan Guang nevertheless flashed to Immortal Outside Heaven's front. The true Immortal Hall's #1 cultivator lost her color. She did not expect her opponent's realm to be formidable to such a degree. Her Supervoid peak-level divine intent was far inferior. The second spear attack once again slashed into her other shoulder. Her snow-white shoulders showed wounds. That Nikhang Heavenly Feather Rainbow Raiment was completely shredded. The 72 heavenly immortals clustered over. Immortal Outside Heaven tried to retreat, but she had retreated only 100 steps when the 72 outer void flying immortals' swords were all completely slain by Wuyan Guang. The great Liao Emperor's #1 fierce general charged. Her spear directly thrust. Just as the beauty was about to die, just at this moment, a sword light of flowing water flew over and constricted Wuyan Guang's spear attack. This flowing sword light spun, making Wuyan Guang's spear stagnate for half a second, and it was precisely this half second that allowed Immortal Outside Heaven to escape. Wuyan Guang gasped in astonishment. The girl already slashed downwards. The sword wind was chilling, a splashing dragon cry and waterfall. Wuyan Guang held her arm horizontally, beating back her opponent. Two girls descended in front of her. Senior Immortal Outside Heaven, are you all right? Long Nu's brows were locked tight as she stared at Wuyan Guang. Thanks. Immortal Outside Heaven nodded. Star General. Explain why you Star Generals would appear in this place. Could it be because of the Great King? Wuyan Guang said thoughtfully. Who even knows who any of you are? Huang Mengrui chuckled. Maiden Mountain has vowed ever since the star duels began that whoever meddles in the star duels will be punished severely. If you truly wish to know, then come test it. Long Nu calmly provoked. Wuyan Guang's eyes released a peculiar luster. Maiden Mountain? There just happens to be no one who is a match here. This general actually wants to see what abilities Maiden Mountain has. Wuyan Guang disdained Maiden Mountain as beneath her. She thrust out her spear. Huang Mengrui rode upon Terrible Leg and waved her sword to block. After several bouts, Huang Mengrui showed signs of defeat. Seeing that she was not a match, Long Nu became slightly anxious. It seems that Maiden Mountain is no more than trash, just like that Empress Huidi. 3. Wuyan Guang sneered. Before she finished speaking. Suddenly, a 3-inch tall exquisite pagoda suddenly appeared. Rising into the air, it was then as big as a mountain. Altogether it had 9 stories. The moment it was in midair, exquisite treasure light radiated, enveloping Huang Mengrui and the others within. Even Wuyan Gong was unable to break through it. The pagoda released treasure light, dignified and brilliant. Surprisingly, it simultaneously shook He Chongbao's blood light and Emperor Liang's true dragon. Long Nu's heart breathed a sigh of relief. A 9-story pagoda, the Heaven-Earth Dark Yellow. This was none other than Thousand Buddha Star Chao Gai's Heaven-Earth Dark Yellow Thousand Pagoda. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.